before I asked that, there was one question I wanted to ask you because I really needed your opinion on it.
Yeah.
What is your opinion? What do you, how should I put this? What do you think freedom of speech is?
Just exactly what it means, basically, is the freedom to say and yeah, the freedom to say what as anything, basically. I suppose that's freedom of speech. But I think I don't think it exists. But yeah, that the idea of it is the freedom to say anything or express any view, kind of thing, isn't it?
But that's interesting. You said you don't believe it exists.
No.
Okay, so we ain't gonna clash then, because that was gonna be my viewpoint, that it don't exist. It's just a myth.
Of course, it definitely doesn't exist. I mean, just down to legal terms and like just practical terms, you can't say fire in a cinema, and you can't say bomb on any form of transportation or public transportation or airplanes or anything like that. So, like, there's just certain things you can't say in certain places because it's not appropriate to do so.
Okay. Yeah, that's well, in that case, we ain't gonna have a problem because that's exactly where I'm coming from as well. Because I didn't believe in it because I see so many people in Speaker's Corner losing their damn minds over this whole freedom of speech thing. They think they can just say whatever they want, and then they start fighting over it and arguing over it and trying to beat the living daylights out of certain people who try and use it.
Yep.
So I'm like, I don't know. Well, I'm glad we both share the same opinion on what freedom of speech is. I was gonna ask you, because I've been doing some research and I keep hearing this whole terminology pop up, victim mentality. When certain people are talking about racism, one of the terms I hear constantly coming up, I think to shut them down, is that they're playing the victim.
Yep.
Now, I don't know. I was trying to get some people who believed in that to come on the show, but I couldn't get them. But I don't understand it. If somebody's trying to express the problems they're experiencing racially, how can that be a victim mentality? I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something, or maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I don't really understand what victim mentality is. Well, I've seen it used for lesbians, homosexuals, women complaining about problems. Every time they complain about something, it's always victim mentality. Have you ever had that situation yourself when you're trying to educate people on Pan-Africanism? Someone comes in and then says you're playing the victim or something.
Okay, yeah, no, I've never had the victim one. That's I think that's a lot new and a lot more common there, and something I've seen a lot at Speaker's Corner. I really don't like it, but I used to get chip on your shoulder. Do you know what I mean? I think that was the one that was used prior to this victim mentality phrase. So anytime you try to talk about real or legitimate issues or experiences, people will say, "Oh, you've got a chip on your shoulder. Get over it."
Yeah.
So.
Yes. I don't understand that, because that does happen a lot in Speaker's Corner. Because I notice when you or some other group of people are trying to get Black people together to talk about trying to bring people together, that does come up. You get people who get threatened by it. They suddenly think it means that it is an attack on them, on their race.
Sorry.
And so they think it's an attack on their race and they want to do something about it to stop the conversation from going on.
Yeah.
Which, no, I don't get that. I find that very, very irritating. I was doing some research on racism because I thought maybe I'm losing my damn mind. Maybe there isn't racism. Maybe society in the UK is so advanced and is so much better that I'm just whining and belly aching, and maybe I should stop it. So I decided to do some research online. Some things I wanted to show you, which I thought you find fascinating. I'm just going to share my screen so you can check this out. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing some research and I came across this on the Society of Black Lawyers webpage.
Yeah.
And apparently says their report reveals racism at the heart of the UK legal profession. It says a comprehensive investigation conducted by the former chair of the Commission for Racial Equality, Lord Herman Woolsey, into allegations of racism, discrimination, and victimization within the Solicitors Regulation Authority has found extensive evidence of institutional racism. The in-depth study was commissioned by minority lawyer groups, which included the Society of Black Lawyers, the Society of Asian Lawyers, the Association of Muslim Lawyers, and the Black Solicitors Network, following pressure from Bridget Prentice, the MP, junior minister at the Ministry of Justice, and Keith Vaz, MP of the Home Affairs Select Committee. Both the Law Society and the SRA cooperated with the investigation. So they did this report, and they came to the conclusion that it does exist within. And I was surprised to see this, because I was thinking, well, maybe I'm not going crazy. Maybe because sometimes people can make you, I'll admit to it, sometimes people can make me lose my mind, because I'm thinking, am I being paranoid when I'm thinking about racism or institutional racism? Because sometimes it almost feels like it's something you can't even see. You know, it's like this malevolent force around you. You feel it, but you can't actually pinpoint it out and say, there it is, right there. And when I saw this, it was just interesting. They were talking about the methodology that they used to get this report. It involved not only statistical analysis of the SRA's treatment of ethnic minority solicitors over the last 5 years, but interviews with members of staff and minority solicitors who were able to make representations. So that's how they were able to get set up this report. They then came up with conclusions on how they could improve it and get rid of racism within the board of solicitors. But they didn't mention the barristers, which is interesting. They didn't mention barristers, but they were talking mainly from the point of view of solicitors. So I don't know. I just find that sometimes I need to do these research to kind of reassure myself that I'm not going crazy or something. So I don't know. I don't know at all.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, I agree with you. You do have to do research. I'm not sure if you know the guy Tiger. I don't really like talking about people per se, but the guy called Tiger at Speaker's Corner, he's a mixed race guy.
Yes.
I had a discussion with him at one point and trying to explain to him about institutional racism and the fact that it actually does exist. And it's crazy that you actually get to see these people like who actually deny and actually believe in their minds and honestly really truly believe that racism doesn't exist and that there's no problem, when obviously there's been countless study after study, just like you say. You're bringing statistics now from the lawyers. I think I know that organization, the Society of Black Lawyers, actually. I think they're involved in quite a few community campaigns, and they're quite active around the community. And I think they do see a lot of issues to do with racism quite often, and so they have to deal with that, and also, of course, going through the actual education system to become a lawyer, they have to deal with, I remember a few years back, so I wasn't quite sure when you started talking about that if it was the same thing, but a few years back, there was quite a lot of an active campaign about the bar test on graduating to become a lawyer. So they wanted to change it so they could allow actually to get a lot more black lawyers through the system, because they were saying that it was racially biased in the very testing. So I'm not surprised to hear that article that you presented there.
All right. How much success did they have with that program?
I don't think they did have any success, to be fair.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's something like I've tried to stop doing at Speaker's Corner so much, and in general, trying to explain to people that racism exists, or explain to people of other races that racism exists. Like, it gets to a point where if you're not going to take my opinion, there's no amount of arguing that's going to convince you. If you're not going to take the evidence or the facts or the statistics, if you're always going to say they're made up or they come from nowhere, then there's no real point in having a discussion. I mean, what's this guy's name? Well, Cressida Dick recently, but even before her, Hogan Howe, they both said that institutional racism is a reality. It is something that's happening in the in the UK and in the Metropolitan Police. So
they said that, yeah.
And also, I'm not sure if you saw a Panorama documentary that was out a few years ago, which blatantly showed like black people being denied housing opportunities in the area of Brent and stuff like that. So like the real estate agent will literally tell them there are no houses available. A white person will come in later and they would like there'll be several houses available all of a sudden. So
no way.
Yeah, that was true. That was on Panorama. So yeah.
So wait a minute. Let me see this. People were what they were trying to get places on, what they were trying to get property to rent or
yeah.
And so they were making the applications for this, but they were being denied it. They were being told that there was nothing available.
Yeah, they're going into the real estate agents, and almost as soon as being entering, being told, you know, we have no properties to rent at the moment. And then, you know, a white person will come in later on and they will be like, yeah, there's properties to rent, basically.
What the hell?
And that was shown. So it happens. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to say that England is the most racist country or anything like that. But I think to deny that racism does happen, that is a big part of the problem. You know what I mean? And I think whilst Britain has come a long way from how it was once upon a time, or back in the day, and while right now there's like very, very, very little like comparable racist episodes compared to how it used to be. Like the fact that we deny it when it does happen, I think is the bigger problem, and the fact that we can't use terms like chip on your shoulder and mentality, it is a massive problem. I think it's not just white Britain that has this saying. I think at Speaker's Corner quite a lot, people who say a lot of the time were Arabs and Asian and Pakistani or Middle Eastern people. They're the ones who are starting to coin and use this term victim mentality at Speaker's Corner. And yes, I definitely feel uncomfortable with that. I don't like how they're using it, because like you're saying, if somebody is a victim of racism, how do you then turn around and insult them further? Yes,
that is true. That is true. I have noticed that as well. I've noticed that the irony is I've been going to Speaker's Corner now for more than a year. And I remember when a lot of people lost their minds when Tommy Robinson and his group turned up. I remember I was there that day.
Yeah.
And people were panicking and complaining and shouting from the rooftops about racism. But the irony is, the only time I ever hear negative or racist words being used towards Black people, it hasn't actually been from a white person.
Mm.
It hasn't. It's brown-skinned people I've heard, or I've heard from a few Black people, but that's a different topic. I mean, that's like Black people using those kind of words towards other Black people. Now, is that acceptable? Because I remember one Black person going up to a Black person in the park, calling them a house Negro and a coon. Now, is that racist? Well, you can't say they're racist, but them using those words, to me, is just as bad as a non-Black person using those words. But it's like they feel that because they have Black skin, that kind of gives them the right to say to another Black person, which I think is really weird. I can't get over it. Most people don't have a problem with it, but me, I'm kind of like, if I saw a Black person say those words to another Black person, it would affect me the same way as a non-Black person.
Which word? House Negro and coon?
Yep, I've seen them. I've actually heard house nigger. Because I remember there's this guy who always comes to Speaker's Corner. He's always preaching and prophesizing about the end of America, saying it's gonna happen. He's a Black guy. I've
seen them,
yeah, and he always has these books that has someone like a Black Jesus on it or something, you know, something strange. He has all these things on the floor that people can step on, and he's always predicting that America, the empire, will come down.
Yeah.
And anyway, he was getting into this big argument with a Muslim, Jamaican Muslim. He wears a hat. He's got a very thick Jamaican accent.
Yeah, I know this guy. I don't know.
And they were arguing back and forth. And of course, this guy who makes all these predictions, he doesn't care about Islam, and he's criticizing Islam.
Yeah,
you know. So of course, the other guy just called him, "You are a house nigger," and just said that to him, shouted it out, "You are a house nigger." And I was like, whoa! I was like, you can't say that. And it was like, why did he think he had the freedom to say that to that Black guy, even though they didn't agree? This is And of course, I've seen brown-skinned people who are from parts of the Middle East or North Africa who've used the N-word as well. So I'm like, well, people always complaining about racism in Speaker's Corner. When I see it, I don't see it from white people, because white people are a minority in Speaker's Corner anyway. They don't really come there. So I don't know. I just found the whole thing kind of hypocritical when people go on about it. I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about at all.
What do you mean, like? So okay.
It's like when people talk about racism, they're talking about it from a perspective of lots of white people coming there saying racist things to black people.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, what I've seen is there's a minority of white people.
Yeah.
And when I do hear these derogatory words being used about black people, it's not white people who've used it. Like I remember when Callum was constantly being referred to as a baboon, and he was being called a house nigger and being called a coon. Now, it wasn't white people that were saying that stuff to Callum when he was in Speaker's Corner, or, you know, so I'm like, okay, so I don't know. I just found the whole thing confusing and hypocritical about that when I saw that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So now I just want to clarify so I get you. I agree and I disagree to some extent. So I definitely agree that Speaker's Corner, white people are the minority, and to be fair, I've not faced any racism from any white people at Speaker's Corner personally. No white person's like abused me racially or anything at Speaker's Corner. I don't think that is the big problem. And to be fair, I have seen more, I would say, troubling behavior from, like you say, brown people, people from like Asian backgrounds and so forth, than I have from white people in terms of regard to racism. So I've seen like the use of the term victim mentality and things like that used a lot by them. I'm not even seeing the N-word and so on and so forth, as you said. I'm not seeing them use that per se. I'm like relatively new at Speaker's Corner, so you know, might give me time, I guess. And as for I forgot the other point I was going to say. What I was going to say, what added on to that was basically that the racism that we get at Speaker's Corner definitely, we saw Tan, that was the other one. Tan was the only other person I saw using the M-word. We all know that he's just a troll, so not energy for that. So coming on to the Kalam situations, I've definitely seen that. And I think it's a question about the terms and the usage. And for me personally, I don't like the use of the term or to go around call other black people racist names or things like that, basically, including coon, Uncle Tom, or house Negro and things like that. I definitely don't accept it from anyone outside the race to use those terms. However, there is, for me, these terms do have a background and a meaning to some extent. Do you know what I mean? It's not that's just they just came out of nowhere. So, and
please do tell what's the that meaning. I probably don't know. I'm curious. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the correct etymology for each of them per se, but but when I say they have a meaning, I think there's a story about the king, a king basically who lived in the Aztec lands. This is not nothing to do with Africa, by the way, for black people, but I just want to use it as an example. Named Montezuma, who was stoned to death by his own people, basically, and he was stoned to death by his own people because once he had gone to meet with the Spanish people, and conquistadors had come to conquer his land, and he came back to his own people. They saw that he represented the agenda of the conquerors rather than of his own people at that point. In other words, he had sold them out. He was no longer one of them. And I think it would be fair enough if those guys at that time, when you're talking about, you know, their whole civilization possibly being wiped out by these conquistadors, if they were to call that man a house Negro or a coon of some kind or whatever, I don't think I would be too much against that. So I think if you do become a threat to your own people or go against your own people in a dangerous way, I think those terms can be used, but at the same time, I think today in this day and age, they are overused. They're not used in serious times or when someone is literally trying to diminish the community. They're simply used when somebody is trying to be basically like when somebody's just disagreeing with you, and because they disagree with you, you don't think they're as black as you, or you don't think they represent the type of blackness you represent, not seeing that blackness is a wider spectrum. So I think the only time you can use those terms is when somebody is literally a danger to the community and to their own people.
Okay, so it's used from a political point of view. Someone being a traitor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Hmm. But then won't that become subjective? What would you define as someone becoming a traitor? So let's say we bring it into the UK. If a black man or black woman chooses to support the Conservative Party, are they being a traitor? Or they choose to be an MP for the Tory Party,
Ooh.
are they being a traitor to their race, to the black race? In the UK.
Yeah, in the UK, it'll be very difficult to de facto just for me to say, as soon as you do one thing or as soon as you make a political decision, that's it, you're a traitor, you're done. However, I do think in the long run, by virtue of being associated or being part of that party, yeah, I think you can end up betraying your race. For example, if you are MP, a Tory MP, and you vote along with the Conservative policy of this, hostile environment and all these things, which literally has caused the death of certain Commonwealth citizens and things like that, you really are betraying your race for the sake of your party. Do you know what I mean? So I think there is an extent to which, yeah, politicians, where if you join the Conservative Party and you're independent minded and you're voting on your own record, your own conscience on what's going to be good for you, your community, and the wider community, that's fair enough. But if you join the Conservative Party and you say, I'm going to toe the party line and I'm going to do whatever the Conservatives want to do, a lot of the time the Conservatives are going to bring in laws and policies, and not just the Conservatives, the Labour Party will do this too, and they'll bring in laws and policies which are going to negatively affect your particular community. So I think at that time it's for you to say, yeah, I'm going to represent my particular community, and not really roll with this party anymore.
Damn. So how could you then make a change? Because you're outside the system, the political system.
I mean, Jeremy Corbyn was in the Labour Party for how many years, voting against his own government, voting against his own policies. It's possible to be an independent-minded MP. Just because you're an MP doesn't mean you have to vote for every single thing the party says. And like I say, if you're a conservative, it's like you do agree with a lot of conservative values, but it's just about when you don't agree with the conservative values, do you sort of back off just for the sake of party politics, or just for allowing your party to win the election, or do you stand by your community and vote against your party?
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening.
They got Buddha. This is Buddha. Buddha, this is my witness at Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, man. Well, I haven't seen him in Speaker's Corner, but I spoke to him before. I've heard him
Come.
Oh, you invited Buddha?
Yeah.
Okay. You invited Buddha. Okay, I thought I was going crazy because I don't remember sending out the invite. You're playing tricks with me now, scattered minds, trying to mess me up.
If you want me to leave, I'll go. If it's a private conversation.
No, it's okay. I mean, I've heard you on a Titans TV, so for the most part, I don't really have any problem with you. I was just like, for a second, I thought I was in the Twilight Zone. I was like, whoa, who's that? Okay. Well, yeah, here. So yeah, we're talking about various things. Some of it you might have heard. We were just trying to figure out how does one in the UK, a black person, become a house Negro? Because we've ascertained that the term, though it is derogatory, it is used sometimes in a political way to talk about someone who has betrayed their race or who is being a traitor to their race. So I'm trying to find out if it's subjective. So I asked Scattered Minds, if a black person joined the Tory party as an MP or decided to vote for the Tories, would that black person then be regarded as a traitor and the term house Negro be used on them? So
it's a very, very good question. Can we? Well, do you know what? I don't think the word has the same veritas today as it did when it's in inception. I think the use of the word when it first came out was very poignant. At this moment in time, although us as a black community are subjugated and are under pressure from certain elements within society, I don't think we're in the dire position as the slaves were. Some would argue we still are slaves, and I accept that. But to determine what defines a house Negro in modern times is a difficult one. difficult one.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I've thought that as well. I mean, we can come up with a whole bunch of, I can come up with a whole bunch of questions on this, and it becomes somebody's subjective opinion. If a black man or black woman joins the police force or the soldiers, military, are they then becoming a house Negro to their own people in the UK?
Let me give you an example, right? I don't know if you guys saw the live stream yesterday on Raspek's channel, and I was defending Mr. Robinson's treatment within the court system. Now, if you look in the comments, there's all kinds of stuff being said about me, blah, 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 blah. So that would probably define me as a house Negro. On the outside, they say, oh, you're nothing but a house nigga. Okay, but the wider picture is that if somebody is, if just like you've got the picture of the scales and justice scales. All right. So if justice is not served on one person, that would dictate that justice is not served on every person.
Yes.
So the minute we start saying, you know what, we're going to treat that person different and give the other person justice, we're treading a very dangerous line, because the same sort of mechanism will be used on us. You understand? So I look at it like this. When Mr. Robinson is being treated unjustly, we all need to say, listen, it's injustice. Because if we can't, it can't be like, oh, he's a racist, he's this, he's that. Because justice is justice, and it's apparently supposed to be blind. Okay, I'm not a supporter of Mr. Robinson. However, when it comes to justice, I made it abundantly clear that everyone should be treated justly. Moreover, if we can show that Mr. Robinson has been treated unjustly, that has an implication on us moving forward. Because then when we are treated unjustly, we can point at Mr. Robinson's case and say, well, listen, this is how he was treated, and he won his case. I or me or somebody else is being treated exactly the same place. Why is that? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So
I get that. Like, and I feel you understand that for Tony Robinson in terms of not for him, but for justice in general.
Exactly, yeah.
Just to bring it back to what Witness was saying, what if you saw a black police officer and he pulls you over, how do you feel about him? Do you feel like he's a sellout, or do you think?
No, man. Listen, like I've been pulled over by black police officers.
Yeah.
I've got friends of mine that are people of color that are in the police force and in the military.
Yeah.
They're out there doing a job, trying to make a living. You get me? You understand? I don't know what their motivations for joining the police force were, but you know what? At the end of the day, if they're treating me justly, I can't say or do anything. You understand? Because that's their job. If I'm driving down the road, music blaring, spliff hanging out my mouth, can of tenants on the side, then what am I going to turn around and say, you're blood clot traitor, I sell out? That can't fly. You have to look up myself, innit, really?
Yeah.
I mean, but so that's what I'm saying. The definition of house nigger in this day and age is a very difficult one. If I would call
sorry, go ahead.
If I would point a finger at a house nigger, I would say someone like the Reverend Manning. Do you know Reverend Manning?
No, I have not heard
oh my God, it's a good thing. He is a preacher who is an absolute house nigger, one of them kind of guys. The other one would be someone like Tommy Sotomayor. Don't know if you know.
I've heard of him. I've been on his. I've watched his channel from time to time.
I would absolutely call him a house nigger, but at the same breath, he does raise certain issues within the black community. So it's a difficult one. You can't solely point the finger strongly at one.
Cool. So, my definition was somebody who does something that's detrimental to their community, and especially if it's done in the service or to promote another community. So, for example, no problem with a black person joining the police officer. That's fair enough. Join the police force. That's fair enough. A black person who joins the police force and then goes over and beyond board when it comes to stopping black people or treating black people a certain way to prove to his white colleagues that he could be a police officer, I think he is then, entitled to the term house Negro.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
100%.
yes, sir.
100%. But then let me kind of play devil's advocate here. If we have a black person who joins the police force and does it out of his, I don't know, religious or social beliefs, whatever, and he wants to stop knife crime, so he actively pulls over young teenagers and checks them to see that they ain't got knives and blah 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 blah, would that person be deemed a house nigger as well because he's targeting certain individuals within the community?
No, if he's starting like to check for knives and stuff like that, fair enough. Like I don't mind. I don't have a big problem with stop and search. My problem with stop and search is that it's only 10% successful, and I feel like it should at least be 50% successful if they're doing their job properly. And otherwise, they're just picking on any random black boy they're seen on the road and just thinking they've got a knife, and they're not really thinking to themselves who is more likely to have a knife out of these black boys. So I don't mind if you stop and search black boys. Just stop. Don't get it wrong so often. You know, try and get it right more often than you get it wrong.
Absolutely. And I think I would agree to that. So it's a provocative question you're asking there, man, and it's a good question.
Yeah, I think it's very subjective.
Yeah, it is. The lines are very blurred in this day and age. I'll tell you who else I would call a house nigga.
Go.
People like Beyonce.
Ooh.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow. I want to hear why. Why would you call her that?
Right.
One second. I'm gonna let you finish that. I just wanted to say, Bigger Belly, Content's brother asked if you could get the link, Preston.
Do you know him?
Yeah, he's cool. He's good people.
So you're vouching for him? Yeah, you can give him the link the same way you gave it to Buddha. Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll do it through the hang up. Cool. Sorry. Go on. Tell us about Beyonce, Buddha.
Yes, someone who this is only a personal thing, right? I'll be honest with you. Especially women who walk around with blonde hair, black women who walk around with blonde hair. I cannot, for the life of me, take them seriously. Because not only do there's this thing where art imitates life. Not only do you wear the blonde wig, you become the blonde wig. You all of a sudden you have this air of supremacy about you, whereby you think you are cut above the rest, where in actual fact you're nothing but a nigger, as Malcolm would say. You understand? Yeah, so people who reinforce this narrative that, having lighter skin, bleach your skin, have blonde hair, stick some contacts in your eyeballs, and I hate that. I hate that with such a vengeance. It's a personal thing, but I'm sure there's people out there that would agree with me.
So far, I mean, you gave the answer that I was looking for. You said it's a personal thing because you haven't really said anything politically that she's doing that's putting her in that category as the house nigger.
Okay, so what she's doing is she's enticing a whole generation of young black girls, I would suggest, and black men, to change their appearance or make themselves look a little bit whiter. For what purpose, I don't know, but in aspects of beauty. So for me, that's a house nigger right there. You know what? Go and dress like an African lady, like, wear a cloth, like a traditional cloth. Yeah, and a head, what's that thing called? A hair scarf. Go on stage and do that. I'd rate you. I'd respect you. When what's her name? My Empress there. What's her name? Married to one of the Marley brothers. Lauryn Hill. When that beautiful Empress went on the stage and she had her hair covered in that cloth thing, and she sang like a goddess. You understand? That's beautiful to me. That's somebody embracing their cultural heritage, not trying to fucking appropriate somebody else's. You understand? Erykah Badu, another one. You understand? Even like my girl, what's her name? Alicia Keys. I love that girl. Absolutely love that girl. Yeah, there's a member of the Nation of Islam that I know pretty well. And when I say pretty well, I used to know him back in the day, okay? And he told me a story about when he met her and what was being done to her by the record labels and how she stood up and said, you know what, I ain't doing that. You understand? I rate that woman. That's a strong woman. People will argue even if she's actually black, but guess what? She's a good woman of color. You understand?
Yeah.
But enough of my ranting. Please carry on.
No. Hey. I just wanted to say quickly, Raz, that guy, speak witness that speaks for that guy that just came in here, Raz. He's also one of my guys, so I gave the link. He's a good guy. He's
What
black.
you invite Raz in there for, man? Jesus Christ. Oh my Lord.
Oh, you mad? Yo, brother boy, allow it, fam.
Raz, no, do you know what, Raz?
What's up? Salam, everyone.
Raz, I gotta tell you, brother, I love
I
you.
love you. I love you too, G.
Let me tell you something. Do you know what? When I was at work and I was listening to you talking about the bell curve, brother, the proudness I felt in my heart, brother. You done it justice, rude boy. You done it justice. Well done.
Thanks, G. Thanks. It's just that the guy was just chatting a lot of BS, boy, trying to make them look like an idiot. So I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen.
Do you know the thing with Rob? He's a very he works on academia. You understand? And I've had conversations with him for hours. Believe me, I've had conversation with him for hours on the subject of religion.
Yeah. He just has like, I don't know.
All right, you guys can talk about Rob another time. But like I said, Rick, yeah, this is Witness Speaker Corner. You don't know the topic. What do you think about what Buddha was saying about Beyonce there? Witness.
I just came in now, but is he talking about the
witness, bro?
Sorry,
really?
I got distracted. Sorry. In regards to Beyonce, I don't know. I'm not convinced by Buddha's, because Buddha, for the other characters, you were making sense, Buddha, but Beyonce seemed a little too personal to me. It seemed you have like some personal beef with her. But I do appreciate. I do understand what you were saying about what's her name, Alicia Keys, and you mentioned Erykah Badu. But I don't know. Beyonce can't help. I was actually interested when you mentioned Alicia Keys, because she's very light as well, and she has more European features than Beyonce because she's actually biracial. So
yeah, okay. So the thing is, Alicia Keys, I'm not going to mention names, but a member of the Nation of Islam, quite a high level individual, told me the story where Alicia went to the record labels and the record labels were telling her, you know what, you need to wear a shorter skirt, push out your tits a bit more, change your hair color, do this, do that, and she refused to. She absolutely refused to. She stood on her own legs and said, you know what, my music speaks for itself, not my body, kind of thing. You understand? So that's why I rate her, and she could have quite easily done that. Now, as you've explained, she's not very Afrocentrically black, but she's a person of mixed heritage, and she had the gumption to do what she done. However, say we have someone like Beyonce who could have done exactly the same thing, but chose to bite the bullet and do it in the first instance.
Okay, so that's why you're going down the road, because from a commercial point of view, Beyonce sold out. You're kind of saying, in her imagery, she didn't. She allowed herself to be manipulated by the record label,
and in turn manipulate a generation of young black children.
All right, okay, I see what you mean. So people then get affected by her behavior. They want to be like her. They want to look like her. And that in turn is stripping them of their self-identity and self-respect. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting. That's I don't know.
Tell me who you think a house Negroid is then.
Well, this is the thing I was saying with Scattered Minds. I don't believe in using that term. So to me, it's like it becomes subjective. It's like, I don't know. It's like, would you call someone who votes Republican in America a house Negro? I mean, would you?
I'm not from America, so I don't care what goes on in there per se.
But like, if I bring it back to the UK, because we talked about the Tory party and stuff and voting for the Tory, I don't know. It's like, how can you? This is where it becomes really subjective. It's like if somebody has a point of view that does not correlate with your point of view politically, then certain people feel that that person must now be called a house Negro. But who says that your political point of view is the right political point of view? Who determines that? It becomes your subjective opinion. like I know you mentioned Tommy Sotomayor, and he seems to have a personal problem with black women. He's always going nuts and insulting black women. He's a black man himself. So to me, I think maybe he has some kind of mental problems. So, but in American politics, I can understand why black Americans would use that term towards him for attacking the black American woman. So I guess, yeah, it makes sense, but that is the only example I can give you, Buddha, where I can look at a black person and say, okay, yes, because he is going out of his way to attack black American women. So yes, in that sense, I would use that term. I wouldn't use it, but I can see how it could be used for him. There, so in that part, I can agree with you, Buddha, on that example, Tommy Sotomayor.
Okay, what about scattered minds? Who would you point the finger at?
Yeah, I would say, like you say, anyone who I think the definition of these terms, coon, any of them, is simply basically anyone who causes a detriment to their own race, basically, or wittingly and unwantingly doing it, basically. So I think Tommy Sotomayor going out and attacking and trashing black women, I think that is. At the same time, he might be saying that he's doing it by way of trying to help black women improve themselves somehow. I don't know, but maybe that's what he'd say. But I'd say he's definitely one. But I would say, my thing is, I would extend it to people like politicians who make decisions which could possibly affect their own communities in negative ways. So I don't say necessarily if you're black and you vote conservative, or if you're black and you become conservative, you're automatically a coon or Uncle Tom. But if you do join these parties, and when there are policies that come along which you know are going to be detrimental to your community, which the community tells you directly is detrimental to the community, and you still vote for it anyway because you want to vote along with your party so you can advance in your career, then I'd say you're an Uncle Tom or a house Negro. And I'd say that, yeah, sorry.
Let me change it up. Let me ask Witness and Scattered.
1 second, dog, because Darren's in the building as well. So shout out Darren. I want to welcome into the chat.
What's up?
Darren?
I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh yeah, you came in. Oh yeah, welcome.
I was just listening.
That's cool. What I want to quickly do, since we've got a panel, is bring it back to this question, and I want all of you guys to give me your opinion, because I've been talking to Scattered Minds about it. Is it right to accuse victims of racism as having a victim mentality when they choose to talk about it? So this doesn't just relate to black people. It could be, I don't know, Indians, Pakistanis, Chinese, people who are biracial. If they choose to talk about it, are they going down the road of playing the victim? Or is that just an absolutely stupid terminology to use when they're trying to give a history of their experience?
Did you say when they talk about racism?
Yes, when they talk about racism, experiencing it.
I think it entirely depends on how they speak about racism.
Okay.
I mean, if we have to look at some examples, because it's not as simple as, if they talk about racism, then they're victim to a victim mentality. It depends in how they speak and when they would bring it up, and you know what I mean. You have to judge every case on its own merit, I think.
Can you give an example of one that would be detrimental?
Yeah, probably like earlier. Sorry, I don't know who said it because I don't really know how to use it. Scattered, I think, said it. He said when people willingly go out to detriment the community, I think that would be a good time. But the thing is that willingness is such a blurred line that, you know, I personally see as most rap detrimental to black communities. But most of them guys don't know that they're doing it. They're certainly not willingly trying to detriment the community, but they certainly are.
Interesting. That's cool. What do you think about that as well?
Do you know what? I kind of move forward from that. I don't use the racial card personally, unless I really feel someone's racially abusing me or something like that because of my race. But I won't say, oh, is it because I'm black? No, I'll say to him, you know, I'll do it in a very diplomatic way. I think the minute you play the race card, you've kind of lost in a sense. But the minute you kind of allude to it but not say it, it makes people think. You know, I very, very rarely use the race card at all. But that's me moving in different circles anyway.
So talking about it, but not being it's almost like not being blatant about it, but alluding to it in a way to talk about. Okay.
Yeah, so let's say there's I don't know, let's give the scenario. I'm in Tesco's and I'm buying something and I'm in a queue, and the person behind me is white and gets served first before me. Instead of going up to them and say, hey, is it because I'm black? That's why you served her and she's white? I'd prefer to go up there and go and say to them, excuse me, could you just explain something to me? Could you explain to me why you served this lady here and I was in front of her and I was queuing up? Could you give me an explanation, please? So you're
okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean.
But you're not playing the card. I think the minute you play the card, it's kind of like same old again. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. Because because there's a point of view that you could actually be wrong. Maybe they weren't being racist. Maybe they just didn't see you, or maybe they just made a wrong assumption that you weren't ready. So yeah, it could be a whole bunch of these things. So yeah, that's much more diplomatic. I can understand that would actually be much more effective. You wouldn't look like the crazy black man and allow them to stereotype you even more if you suddenly started saying, is it because I is black and you suddenly lost your mind? Yeah.
Exactly.
That would make sense.
Because, you know, the minute you say, it's a racial thing, people just roll their eyes and think, not another one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, cool.
Whereas if you start saying, I would like an explanation. No, you can't give an explanation. Oh, can I speak to your manager? Manager, do you have a complaints form? You know, when you start going down those lines, you're more articulate and you know the system a bit more. You get more done and achieve more. You see what I'm saying?
All right.
Definitely.
That's an interesting point you've made. So it could actually be communication. Maybe it's all down to communication. The way you communicate your problem, you get more success. And if you don't know how to communicate, that's where you have, it could be that. Raz, what do you think, Raz?
Sorry, go on.
To be honest, today I was forced into a corner where I was forced to reevaluate certain things, and I think that racists are going to be racist, so there's really no point addressing racism. It's about focusing efforts on addressing the lack of power in our community and dominance in our community to other communities, and I feel like once we have some sort of power hold, I feel like the dynamics and the conversations will be totally different. So, like, to the racists and to the potential racists, like, there's no point really addressing them and focusing your energy on them, because at the end of the day, you're not going to change their mind on certain issues about race, and they're not going to change yours. So you just might as well just miss. You just might as well hit to miss. Like, do you get me? Like, not even address the whole thing at all.
Yes, I understand that. Earlier in the discussion, I was talking to Scattered Minds. He mentioned that. He mentioned what you said there. He said he's reached a stage that when it comes to racism, that he's seriously not even bothering about discussing it with certain people. It's just pointless.
Yeah, especially these right wingers, man. Just leave them out and let's just focus on attaining power, because there's no point really, man. It's straining. You know, both get irritated. You know, we don't come to a conclusion. The same statements being said in the same conversation with the same people. It's just really tiring, man. I'd rather focus my energy on my people and trying to get them in positions of power so they can have that conversation of yo, if you don't stop your efferys, we're gonna withdraw this and this from your hands. Then they'll listen. Do you get me?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But you know what? Can I say something though? Can I offer an analogy?
Please do.
If you look at Israel and Palestine, for example, if these lot stopped focusing on each other and just tried to do their thing, the war would continue forever. The truth is, discourse or discussion can never be cut. Once you cut discussion and discourse and any sort of dialogue between two parties, it goes terribly wrong. History proves it all the time. And I think if anyone who's given up, I think you lot have given up way too prematurely. Like that, I think most racists are racist because of their own ignorance. And ignorance is a disease, but it can easily be cured, bro. Like knowledge will change everything, bro. You don't get like most racists are idiots, bro. All they need is a bit of education, and I'm talking about racists of all races. Bro, if you look at the poorest, most ignorant parts of all communities, that's where the racists are. That's how
Can I
it is.
can I reply to that real quick?
Yeah.
Well, it's very hard when you're not on an equal flame, please, to tell someone that has the power and dominance over you to listen.
I'm sure it
Hey,
is very hard.
give up your power. But what I'm saying is that, there's a time to address racism. Of course, address racism when it's blatant in your face and when it's about to really put money out of your pocket, sort of thing. But if it's just words, if it's just at the N word flung here and there, you don't really have time to address it because that really won't change. What will change is if you have
Right.
power, and then if you have the means to lobby the people that are doing this to you and said them, enough is enough. Remember in the 80s, skis, yeah, in the 80s and the 70s, them man were burning down Chinese shop, man. Yeah, what happened now, bro? They're now lobbying the government to not even try that thing. Yeah, they killed the innocent Chinese man in America. What happened? The whole department got shook, bro. Yeah, because of the power that the Chinese have in the democratic process of America, bro. So it's not really about, oh, how do I feel about this person being racist? No one really cares about feelings, bro. They care about power. And if you have some sort of power, political power and political clout in politics and even in finance, you can actually instigate change in the establishment. If you have none of that, there's no point of having these long arguments. Oh, it's not good to be. I think everyone knows, even the dumbest person knows racism is bad, but they still continue to be racist. So you're really not going to change certain views that people have because certain of these views, they think it's backed by science. So they will quote the bell curve. They will quote all these different scientific anomalies and say that it's
Right.
fact while they've been debunked. So you're not going to change that.
But you can read the bell curve and not become a racist. You get me? We're talking about two different people.
Yeah, you can read the bell card and not become racist, but when you're propagating and saying that it's inherent disabilities in people's efficiencies to become successful, it's an inherent issue and a biological issue. You're treading upon the lines of 18th century social Darwinism.
Right. Yeah, and you can easily disprove that, right?
Yeah, of course, but they won't take it. They will say that you're the SJW, as they like to say. So it's a back and forth, unnecessary
But
quarrels.
that's just a
That
lack
is,
of education. You see what I'm saying? Like you've
it's
proved
not
it. It's a complete lack of education and knowledge about anything. If they're willing to align themselves to 18th century theories, bro, I mean, they ain't gonna last long. You get me? This is a world of facts, bro. These guys.
Of course, it's a world of facts, but nobody cares fact when you're in a position of power. Like, for example, if I'm in a position of weakness and I say to a powerful person, "Hey, bro, yo, spare us a few quid," they're gonna look at me and say, "Oh, boy, just get your own from." Like, I got on my own. Like, they will not give up their position or any part of their position to somewhat like babysit or somewhat make you feel like you're wanted. No one has time for that.
So you're saying that the people in charge believe in 18th century views?
Oh, 100%.
For real, you believe that, even though they've been debunked. How is that?
Ethno purity, bro. It's not about being
who thinks
debunked.
that?
It's not about.
Does the Queen think that?
It's not. Of course.
The Queen believes in 18th century theories.
Of course, the establishment is rife with it. If it wasn't, they would have married. Would have married
Right.
4 blacks into that family from time.
Is there like proof of this?
Well, in 1946 or something, when the Nazi or something, there was photos of her doing Nazi salutes. There's photos of Harry dressing up in Nazi regalia.
Yeah.
There's her cousins were caught saying really bad things about black people, bro. So it's not like that's not
proof of believing in 18th century theories. I mean, come on, we got to keep it real here.
Believe in 18th century theories. What you mean?
Isn't that what you said? You said that the elite believe in 18th century theories about racism.
Yeah, of course.
And you think like all the people in charge in this country believe those things?
I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that all the people believe in this theory. I'm saying that you don't have time to sort out who does and who doesn't. You just should be focused on focusing your own community and building up your own community so that you won't have to care if the Mr. MP over there cares if you're an 18th century person or whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? It's about power.
True.
Like these things they're not just going to give it to us. They didn't give it to the Chinese, they didn't give it to the Indians, they didn't give it to any other ethnic group that's doing well in your country. They didn't give it to them.
True.
They gathered their resources and pulled it together and built their political power in whatever capital you live in. So what I'm saying is that we don't have time to have long discussion, because it's obvious, it's obvious that black people aren't inherently not capable of becoming whatever they are. We know that it's got to do with social economics and certain standards being set, but these people that have these racist views don't care about that because they know this. It's just a prejudice. It's about racial protectionism, and they want to protect them race from somewhat diluting, in a sense where they lose their cultural standing in the world. It's not about you. It's not about
Why
me.
did
It's about
they let
preservation.
in so much immigration then? These elites.
Well, these are neoliberal politics, bro. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with me or you or politics. It's about neoliberalism and making sure that the economy boosts. And also, there's
Right.
also shouldn't forget there's also a very massive influence on sort of communist values in the West after the fall of the Wall of Berlin. So we can't just say that, oh, it's not racist, or it. You can have your prejudice. Everyone has a prejudice, but it's when you're putting in policies that are, you bring all these people in for cheap labor, but you don't give them an equal opportunity to reach where you are at, because you know as soon as they reach where you're at, you're gonna be out of power. So it's like a tic-tac game where they feel like, okay, let me just allow a certain amount of people in, but don't give them the same opportunity that I had, because once they get the same opportunity that I have, they can overturn us. That's why
Right.
the UK is like 90 something percent white, and like something percent like a small percentage of minorities,
Right.
because if they allow if they allow the population to have a drastic change, like 60% white and 40%, then there's a chance that
Right.
these lower minorities could conquer. That's why they have a small minority, a really minute minority. Do you get me?
So they'll let non-white people become lawyers, doctors, politicians, celebrities, all types of people, but they won't let them get in power, basically.
No, they'll allow all these people to exist, but they won't allow them to exist in a way that they are out of power,
Right.
physically. Like they won't ever let the population of
Even
region,
though
let's say, get
some of these
40%.
people are politicians and they make policy and all that.
Some of these people are politicians.
Yeah, some of these non-white people, they become
Like
politicians.
who?
Pretty important
Like who?
people who enable legislation in parliament,
Like who?
stop and search laws, for example, voting
What? Wait,
by
wait.
parliament.
Sorry,
Hold on,
sorry,
brother.
Darren. Wait a minute, Darren.
Sorry, am I
Raz.
going
What?
off track?
No. You're going on track. I just wanted to ask Raz something. There was a
Yeah.
point that Darren
My
made.
bad.
You are aware that there are black men and women who are MPs in the UK, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I know this. But
Okay,
have
all
they?
right.
Okay, let's just stick with that point. Have they done anything for black people?
Okay, this is
Right.
interesting. So you feel they've not done anything, so they're
So they're being
What's
stopped from doing things. Is that what?
not that? Not yes. Not even that they're being stopped. They don't work for you, man. They work for the political establishment. We've
Right.
known about this. There's black people in politics, in the writers, authors, and stuff back till the like from time. Like it's not a new phenomenon. But what they do is that they don't work for the people that the communities that they come from. They work for the political establishment of these United States or the UK, depending on where you come from. So they don't
So
care about
basically, black people or non-white people will get to
yeah,
these positions of power, but they won't work for you. They'll work for the politicians.
yeah, and the special
Right.
interest groups.
That's some interesting discussion between the both of you. I didn't want to stop you. You guys were
Yeah.
mentioning some interesting points, both from both your perspectives. I guess with both of you, I guess it's a case of agree to disagree on the
Yeah.
rhetoric. Yeah, but I do admit I do feel a bit. I feel a bit sad when I hear some of what you're saying, Raz, because it's like you've given up trying to communicate with people of another race. You're like, F you, we'll just do our own thing. Talking to you has become utterly pointless. So if you
Can I ask you something, brother
sure,
witness? So I don't know how old are you, but you probably seem like an older gentleman that has been around for certain times and in his 60s, probably around 70s, 80s, or 90s. I don't
No,
know.
I'm not that old. I ain't that old.
I don't know, but you've probably been around the time in the 80s where there was the riots and stuff. I'd like to ask you for all the marching and all the the rhetoric and all the please stop killing us rhetoric and treat us like equal citizens. Has anything substantially changed with the situation of black people in the UK?
Oh yeah, definitely. Than the 80s. I mean, it's not perfect. There's no way I'm gonna tell you it's perfect. But has
Yeah.
it changed from the 1980s? Absolutely.
In what way?
Well, you can look at it from a very conspiratorial way and say that the racism is not blatantly in your face, but it's a lot more subtle. But there are a lot more changes from, say, the 1960s, the 1970s, and 80s. Black men, black women have more opportunities now to get certain jobs. But even
Okay.
though those
Yeah.
opportunities have increased, it goes without saying racism is still around. So
Can I ask you a question? Were
sure.
those policies targeted to black people or to minorities?
Hold on, Raz. You know what? Just to add something in there, if I may.
Go for it.
So, if we use the example of Brixton and Broadwater Farm in Tottenham, so all during the 80s, late 70s, there were serious racial issues going on there. Okay, so the police were found to be very racist and very harsh towards the population within those areas, all over London, wherever they found black people. And it came to the point where there was no more. They said, listen, we're not taking this no more. And protests escalated into violence and looting and rioting. And guess what? Things like that affected change. Even things like the Stephen Lawrence case affected change. So the way in which people police after Brixton, after Tottenham, and after Stephen Lawrence has changed drastically. So that should give you an indication where if you do the peaceful marches and stuff like that, it does have an impact, very low impact, but the governments are aware that it can always transgress into something a little bit worse than a protest.
Yeah, most definitely. But I also take the stand in which I say these are all these, like for example, I always say about Obama and the 1960s politics of saying that minority will give rights to minority. It wasn't a case of black people fighting for their own rights. It was a case of black people fighting for their rights and the rights of others included. But they always put in other people, like other minorities, to divert the situation from black people to a wider society, so that they won't have to address the problems that black people are facing. So I've seen this kind of trend occurring when black people fought for the rights in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, the 70s, the 60s. Like it's a trend. So my thing is that it's not like I don't want to talk to other people from other races. I want to have a dialogue, but let it be constructive. Let fruit bear from my conversations with other ethnicities, because I feel like we're always the ones to give, and when it's time for us to reap the benefit of our giving, we don't reap it. So it's about really taking the initiative for ourselves and saying to ourselves, look, if we don't move, we're going to be left behind. If we don't shape up and have a focused mind and building black black economic power and having a stand in politics and having the ability to buy certain politicians, having the ability to lobby certain groups to put our policies that we want in place, like all these different policies that other communities have, and where the police or the system can't do certain things, can't violate us in a certain way that they don't violate other people. So it's about really not dialogue but by action.
Okay. Does anyone disagree with Raz on what he's saying? I think most people are silent because I think they agree with a lot of what you're saying. So, I don't know.
No, I'm just letting everybody have a chance to speak and everything. I also just want to give a chance to big up Nine Ether who's entered the room. That's another person who I gave the link to.
Sure. That's nice.
But yeah, so I was saying, I agree with some of what Raz was saying, but also agree with some of what Darren was saying. And I think Raz has, to some extent, you can hear by what some of the stuff he says. Like, there's been over the past, I'd say, decade or so, a much of this sort of rhetoric which says, you know, within the Black community, where has all of this protesting and you know, kumbayaring, etc., gotten us? And we need to take more direct action. And there has been that these questions asked, but I would also say to that like Buddha pointed out, you don't get the 80s riots or any of those protests without people coming together and forming together first. So those protests are very important in the initial stage in bringing people together. But Raz is also right. Says, you know, what needs to happen next once you get the people together. It's not just about protesting; it's also about forming a community alliance and going and taking that alliance together to actually build up your own community. But I think once you do build up your own community, you do have to be realistic. You're going to have to engage with other communities. But I mean, I think it's about how we engage with other communities and at what stage we engage with other communities. I would say it's best to engage with other communities when you are on equal footing with them, rather than when you're you know, economically beneath them. Do you know what I mean? And looking for a handout. I think it's best when you're, you know, both, when neither are looking for a handout and you're on equal playing fields and equal terms. But to bring the conversation back around to more of the general question about, you know, using the terms of Uncle Toms and coons, I'm interested to hear what Darren's. I mean, I heard a little bit what Darren was saying about it, but I'm interested. Like, for me personally, those terms. Well, I'm not sure if I can remember what Darren was saying about it. But those terms basically can be used. Like I said earlier, I will just repeat myself and repeat my statement. When you're talking about people who are causing direct harm towards that community which they are a part of, basically. So politicians who vote along the party lines against policies that will go against the community was the example I gave. So I'll just open that back up there again.
Before that, I wanted to mention something to the panel.
Yeah, go ahead.
And you can all give me your opinion on this. When it comes to the discussion of racism, I can't really say I've heard other people talk about racism, except Black folk. I don't really hear Indians or Pakistanis. Maybe I'm not around the right group of people, but I don't really hear the Chinese or the Thai talking about it. The only other group I can say that I might hear it spoken about a lot is probably Jewish people when they talk about anti-Semitism and they complain about it. But other groups, I don't really hear other groups talk about racism anywhere near as much as Black people. Mm-hmm. Now, is that because Black people are experiencing it a lot more than anyone else? Or is victim mentality ingrained within Black people?
What do you think, if you don't mind me asking?
I think part of me is hoping that it's because I'm not around the right Pakistanis or Indians who are complaining about it. So part of me is saying maybe I don't know I'm not in those discussions. So that's probably why I don't hear it. Because even when I go to Speaker's Corner, I don't really hear any other race of people talking about it. The only time they might mention something is if the religion of Islam is criticized and it happens to be a lot of Asians and Middle Easterners and North Africans or Muslims, then maybe. But the only time I really hear it is two groups of people, the Jews and Blacks.
Let me try and jump in there, if I may. It kind of, you have to take into consideration numbers as well. So you gave the examples of Thai people. So if we contrast that with the amount of Thai people there are in say London and the amount of Black people there are in London, who's more probable to experience racism?
My guess, I'd say Black people.
Exactly. So when you compare that with all the other minorities, I would say that Black people are the largest minority. I might be wrong, actually. Maybe Pakistani or Indian might be the biggest minority. But as I understand it, Black people are the biggest minority. And so therefore, we're more likely to experience racism. Not to say that, you know, Thai people don't get it. You know, you hear people going, oh, hey, Thai ladyboy and all this kind of stuff. Thai people probably don't understand that. They think, oh, why are you calling me a ladyboy? I'm not a ladyboy. But they don't realize that's like a stereotypical / racial slur. So there's that as well.
All right. So you believe that it's purely because we're larger. So in that sense, we experience it a lot more than any other group.
I don't say that that's the sole reason.
Okay.
There are other reasons, but that is one of the contributing factors.
Yeah, I'd say that could be a contributing factor, but I think more so is the historical context and the position in which we've come to be within this country, hence why we discuss, and actually our position globally actually has something to do with this as well. So racism has affected Black people very differently to how it's affected other races across the world. So yeah, for sure, we've had the British Empire, European empires as well went into many nations in many different places, and forced on these sort of European Eurocentric views. What happened with Africans is we were taken into slavery, however, long term, and then and also our nation of Africa was actually developed and colonized very harshly. Actually, when you look at India, there was attempts made to do some sort of building of the nation or building of railroads and things like that, and allowing of education. Whereas within Africa, there was very clear, the colonial rules were a lot harsher. The railways that were built there were explicitly only built for exploitation of the wealth. And I know that was the case in India as well, but you can see that basically our history with racism as African or Black people has historically been quite different to any other race's history with racism.
Can I maybe ask Witness a question?
Yeah, yes, please go for it.
That's okay. You finished them. I think.
Scattered Minds has got the mic.
Sorry, did I cut you? Go ahead, Scattered.
No, it's calm. So yes, I think our history was quite different with racism. So hence, when we came to Britain, and our entry into Britain, our relationship with just say the establishment, as it were, had all this loaded history with it, and so therefore our propensity or our likeliness to take racism was a lot less. We also came here with a lot less, without necessarily countries of our own that we owned. Like, for example, many of our countries were still under colonial rule when our foreparents came here, and so on. And so, whereas the Thai people, Chinese people, a lot of these people from other communities came here or come here from a background of having ownership in their own countries, and some of these people were middle class and so on in their own countries, and have able to come here and maintain middle class statuses here. So I just think the historical context, it makes it very different. But yeah, next.
Can I just say something real quick to just solidify?
Yurik, you're never quick, bruv. That's the problem.
I see nothing.
Go after me, man. I just wanted to ask Witness something quickly. Witness, who do you think are the people being racist towards Black people, specifically Black people?
Wow, that's a very good question. I mean, within this country, if we keep it in the UK, I would say if I was to look at that, I would look at the people who have the most power, who are at the top of the structure. So in that sense, I would hazard a guess and say people who are white. But what I would say is that their implementation of racism has changed completely from, say, the way it was in the 1950s or the 60s. It's a lot more subtle in the way it's implemented. So I would say, yeah.
So do you think Chinese people are not racist towards Black people?
Oh, I do. I believe that they are racist. I believe Indians and Pakistanis, not all of them, but they do show a racism towards Black people without a shadow of doubt. North Africans, Middle Easterners, absolutely. This is interesting you mentioned this point, because I was talking to Scattered Minds I think it was 45 minutes ago, and we were talking about the microcosm that is Speaker's Corner. And I said to him that when I've heard negative things said about Black people, it hasn't been from white people. It's been from brown-skinned people who are either from North Africa or the Middle East. So it depends. Sorry, what were you going to say?
So, the point I was trying to make is this. We, as a Black people, a Black community, experience racism from every single aspect of every other community, as well as our own. There are Black people within our own community that are racist towards other Black people. Do you understand? So,
whoa. Sorry. What did you say that there are Black people who are racist towards other Black people?
Yes. So you'll find someone from one nation in Africa might not like another person from another nation in Africa. You with me? So These
That's
types.
not
Racism.
that's not racism.
Colorism. Then shall we call it colorism?
That's not even colorism. It's tribalism.
Sorry, hold on. Is that 9 Are you
Yeah,
trying to?
sorry, witness. My apologies for that abrupt coming in.
No, please share your opinion on what.
Let me just finish the point I was trying
Sorry,
to make.
but finish it.
People so let's say in certain communities that I know, in Jamaican communities, they don't necessarily like certain African people, and vice versa. African people don't like certain Jamaican people. What would you call that? Do you think it's because what I would call it racism? You're gonna call that tribalism? I don't know about tribalism. I think small islander Trinidadian might not like St. Lucian and blah blah.
Well, Buddha, but we know already how that came about. Yeah, we know what the master was telling the people in Africa and what the master was telling the people in West Indies. So
Yes,
that's all that.
yes, Nanifa. But the point I'm trying to make is it exists. I'm not saying how it came about.
But it's not. It's not a type of racism. No, it's not.
What is it then?
What is it? That's what I'm saying. It's a hangover. It's a hangover or a byproduct.
But can you see the point? It's hard to define. So that's
okay. It might be hard to define, but it's not racism.
Okay, so what is it then? What would you call it?
Well, we just said it's hard to define, but I'm just telling you, it's not racism.
It's not racism because racism is based on race.
So why that is the case, isn't it? That's what I'm saying, innit? Yeah, that's why I said in Africa, they were being told about the children. You understand? And in the West Indies, we were told about those in Africa. And that's why even when both sets of people came to England now, that's why you even hear these things today. But it's not a type of racism. No, that's the only point I'm trying to make in that respect. Give me 5 minutes and I'll come back with a definition or what it is.
There's something I want to read out. It was an interesting.
Can we just ask Raz what he thinks it is, what he would call it?
I'll engineered political sort of instigations to get two group people, conquer and divide, basically. It's not tribal. It's not what you call it. It's not racism because yeah, it's not racism because racism is you thinking another person is superior based on race, and we are the same race of people, but we're just different from different cultural contexts. So the enemy does use this to get us fighting and bumping heads without realizing that we have more in common that we have different. And
okay,
from the same line.
Just to clarify what you're saying to me, is a white person a different race to a black person?
Well, no, different ethnicity. If you want to be precise.
You use the word race, right? So you're saying.
Yeah, but this is really some.
I think that
wait, hold on.
The easiest way to say it is probably prejudice. Would that be appropriate?
Not even prejudice, man. Like not even prejudice, because to be honest, yeah, I feel like the most the hate it's not even hate, man. The disagreements that the African community and the African Jamaican community is just based on cultural aspects. It's nothing to do with who we are as a people, because we recognize this is same thing with the Igbo and Yoruba.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Let me just give you an example. I'm talking about this. If you've got a Nigerian family, Nigerian girl brings a Jamaican boyfriend home and say, "Mom, Dad, I'm going to marry this Jamaican guy." You know, Nigerian family would beat the girl to an inch of her life.
Yo, what type of slanderous talk is that, bitch?
What was that, bro?
I'm telling you from my experience.
So you can give an example. Don't talk like that's the norm.
Okay,
that's not the norm, man.
That's some careless talk. Do you know that marriages between African and West Indian are most prominent in the black community? What are you talking about, man?
You know what I'm talking about when you finish letting me speak. How about that? Right?
Oh, easy.
All right. So, as I was trying to explain,
within her life and that. That's some careless talk, man.
Chill, everyone, chill.
Go on, you can talk. Sorry, brother.
Oh, thank you. So, as I was trying to explain, in the time that I was growing up, which was about, I don't know, 20 years ago or 22, 23 years ago, it was very uncommon for a Jamaican person to marry a African person. However, times have changed and times have moved on, and it's more common now, right? I can go back to even when an Asian person, like an Indian girl, was trying to marry an African girl, an African guy or a Jamaican guy. It was very uncommon.
Now
However,
that I don't know of.
Oh,
But
so you
there
agree with
was
that,
there.
but you don't agree with the African one because I see. Okay, fine.
No, I said no. You're brethren. I didn't say. I said you're brethren. I said I didn't know of. Oh, the blood. You know what, Buddha? You talk. Let me listen. Yeah. Sorry, people.
Hi, can I just quickly chime in and say good evening to everyone on the panel? I'm a Jamaican and I married an African. Just saying.
So you married yourself?
Big up
No, I
yourself.
didn't marry myself, you idiot. I married a woman. Marrying
Yeah,
myself means...
of course, but you're more the same
Yes,
people,
right.
though.
Oh,
He
yeah,
mean-
no, but
He means you married
culturally-
the same people. That's what he means.
Yeah, no,
It's
no,
like-
I
It's
hear
like
you,
an English person marrying a French person. They're not going to say, "Oh, I married somebody completely different." Or I married someone.
No. I mean, obviously,
It's
essentially, yes, we're the same, but it's the cultural practices that not make us different, but just define us. I would say, like for instance, like I didn't grow up with jollof rice. It's a staple now. You understand?
Okay. That's it.
Yeah,
There's something I want to share to the panel, which was given to me by Raz. What I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share so everyone can actually see it. I don't just want to read it out. I want you all to...
Buddha, have you ever been to Africa, Bab?
Not yet, no.
Can you see it? No?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, brilliant. This I will read it out as quickly as possible. It is from a man called Lord Macaulay, and he made this address to the British Parliament on the 2nd of February, 1835. I think Lord Macaulay was in the region that we now call in Nigeria. So I think he was, and he was ruling there for the British. So I'll read out what he says. I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation.
Fuck you now. There it is, isn't it?
From Mr. Macaulay,
There it is.
1835.
There it is.
And is this authentic, Raz, or is this some Photoshop?
No, I've taken it. I've taken it from a reliable source.
Okay.
Today.
To be honest, that sounds pretty similar to the
Willie
Lynch letter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was asking the question: is it cut and paste, or is it actually authentic? Because the Willie Lynch thing is still under a lot of controversy. Some say it's BS, some say it's true. There's still a lot of debate about Willie Lynch, but yeah.
What do we think? What do we from what we can see? What do we think?
Well, can I just give my little 2 pence? Right, I have said this before in a previous show, right? But it rings similar to what Buddha was saying. Like growing up in a Jamaican household, there was a point where like there would seem to be this divide between West Indians and Africans, and I was never made aware that Africa was a continent full of different cultures, different practices, and apparently Africans were lower than West Indians, like, and we had special names for them. And if I'm honest, growing up, it never sat well with me. Like my aunts and that would refer to Africans as scoops and like bubble and all this stuff, and I used to think, bro, like, what is that about? Where does that come from? Do you know what I mean? Like, and there was never an explanation for it. but it was very divisive. I don't know if anyone else shared that
So
kind
Ultra,
of
Ultra, can
experience.
I ask you something? When
Yes, sir.
you married your wife, what was your family, those same aunties, what was their reaction to that?
To be honest with you, if I'm honest, I don't know. Like, but I feel like they probably still felt the same, but they held it down because it was my wedding, and to be polite, because I feel like unless you challenge bigotry, it, just left unchecked, it just runs rampant. Like, do you know what I mean? So if I'm honest, answer to your question is I don't know, but I suspect, if I'm honest, that those feelings probably remained the same, but were held down for the simple fact that it was my wedding.
Okay. So far from listening to everyone and all the interesting and insightful historical opinions they've given, I can confidently say that in answer to the question, is it right to accuse victims of racism as having a victim mentality? All of us believe no. If people talk about racism, they shouldn't be told that they're adopting a victim mentality. I think we're all agreed in that. Or is there anyone who disagrees? I mean, we're willing to hear their opinion if they disagree with that and they think that the victim mentality thing is actually in there.
I would say, if you forgive me again for chiming in,
Sure.
It all depends from person to wait. It all depends from person. Yes, it all depends from person to person because, for instance, we all handle trauma differently. Do you know what I mean? So, if, for instance, our parents and grandparents had a really rough time and passed that on to generation, then it's understandable why a victim mentality. I don't even like saying it, but I can understand how that could be bred into generations. Yeah, but my thing is we all handle trauma differently. That's it.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I mean, Buddha earlier gave a very interesting, he gave examples of where it could be viewed as victim mentality and how it could not be viewed as victim mentality. And one of the things which came up was communication, how you communicate what you're experiencing. It seems there is a manner in which you can communicate your experience and it would be viewed as victim, playing the victim. So it's almost like, I don't know, I don't want to make it sound as if Black people have to talk in a certain way, because that's demeaning to Black people. If a Black person wants to talk about their experience, they should be able to freely express it without feeling they have to curtail the way they say things, not to offend others.
Agreed.
So,
but you see, that's the thing. I think the victim mentality could. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Can I just quickly ask a question in and around this? What do we think causes racism? What do we think causes people to have, I don't even want to say an inherent, but what do you think causes it? That's my question. What do you think causes it? Because remember, it's not just coming from one set of people, yeah? So it's not even like, it's only, you understand? Caucasians that have that type of vibe or whatever. Because at the end of the day, and for any Black person that don't know, we are public enemy number one, period. All right. So why is that? Let's even try and even just dissect that.
Well, because in order to eliminate a people, you have to first remove their humanity. And I feel like
But why do they want to eliminate us then? Sorry to interrupt, but why us? Why don't they want to eliminate the Indian or the Chinese, or why us? Poor us who ain't got nothing going in for we in the first place.
It goes on to there's many factors. A couple of factors, the idea of cultural supremacy, and they're seeing that through the media and how back then they've been fed such lies about the African continent. That's one, and also science. We have a more dominant gene, as in when we have a baby, the baby turns out like a black man and stuff like that. So there's this thing going on around where people say that the extinction of white people is near to the end because of their recessive genes in as in they could easily be bred out. Literally, that's a possible fear that the elites and other people may have, especially white supremacists, them white nationalist supremacists. The catchphrase in which they say, "Oh, don't breed and mix because to keep the race pure." Why are they really saying that? So these are things to
Is that
look at
why
and try
all
to
Western countries have open border policies?
open border policies to who? They don't have open border
Everyone.
policies to. No, they don't. They don't have open border policies to Africans. We see what's happening in Libya right now.
Okay, so they want everyone else to come in and
literally
the country, but not black people, yeah?
they're literally. If you don't know what's happening in North Africa, they're literally punching holes in
Yeah, I said
boats.
Western countries.
Yeah, but Libya it has a relation with Libya because Africans from the sub-Saharan Africa are coming into Libya and going on boats from Libya to the west, and they're literally punching holes into these boats so that these boats will sink. They don't want immigrants from Africa. They want immigrants from the Middle East, China, all these different
To
places,
dilute the country.
but not Africa. They're not diluting the country. They're seeing these as an extension of their race. For example, there's
They see
going
Chinese
on.
people as an extension of their race.
Yeah, but
I don't
yeah,
know.
White nationalists think
hold
that.
on,
But
hold on. Do you not know? In the because
Wait,
yeah.
hold on, guys. Be quiet. Sorry, guys. Scattered minds. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I just wanted to jump in there quickly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just try to add a little bit of clarity to what was Raz being said. I don't want to go down the route that Raz has taken just there about Chinese being an extension of the race. But in terms of the wider point that Raz is making is that, yeah, sure, on paper, the Western countries, many Western countries, and not all to be fair, have open border policies. Although if you look in Italy, and the recent election results in Germany, it shows you that there's a heavy shift to close those borders.
Sure.
But here in the UK, for example, our open borders are open borders to anybody who has a job that's around 32k a year, and so we don't really necessarily have open border policies. We have open border policies for specific groups of people. There's very few people in Ghana who are going to leave their jobs to come who are qualified enough to come to get a job here in England for 32k. Do you know what I mean? People who are qualified to get a job for 32k in England are quite comfortable in Ghana already. So people who actually want to come to the UK are actually the people in Ghana who can't get jobs, who don't have money, and the UK have no interest in taking those people.
But they do come in. I mean, look, we can't make this narrative that no poor people come into the country, because that would be untrue. All types of poor people, all types. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You can't. I mean, there's no way you can say that isn't so.
Very few.
Well, what type?
There's a lot. Look, man, if you're from London, there's a significantly large African working class community. I mean, bro, enough of these people, like these communities aren't shrinking by any means. I mean, that's exactly the reason why there are political movements to end open borders, because people don't like that at all, And so I don't really see how they're letting in everyone but Africans. I mean,
the reason, yeah, go on.
Go ahead.
The reason why I brought up the fact of the extension of Chinese people being extension of white people is that's what in white supremacist circles, that's what they're saying, because I've been looking at these type of people and observing them. That's why I said that, because that's what they think. I personally don't believe. I personally don't believe that. But to the issue of black people coming to the UK, many of them do come into the UK, but they come on false pretenses, and when it's time to leave, they stay. So it's not like they're openly welcome here and saying, "Oh, yeah, all of you can come and have a open border policy." They actually come here on different pretenses, and when they're here, they stay. They hide under the radar and try to. Some of them, the whole issue of marrying white women in order to get papers and all of these stuff is in the community. So they're forced into these two different options, like marrying for papers and all these things, because there isn't an open border policies. Not just anyone can come into their country, these countries. So let's not push the narrative that the West is an acceptance and an accepting hub for all minorities, especially Black or African people. It's not the case. And
But
in
what do
fact,
you, Raz, I'm
yeah,
curious,
go on.
can you tell me your opinion? What do you think of what's going on in, say, Southern Europe? Like if you go to parts of Greece, Italy, France, you will see a large population of Africans who've come from Africa via the Mediterranean, who are there. I'm not saying life is brilliant for them, but and I know now politically they're tightening things up. They're being detained and stuff, but there are a lot of Black people before they started doing that in the last 2 years who basically were allowed to come into those countries. Do you see that? Yeah, illegal trying to become legal, you know, they're claiming asylum.
Exactly, but they're still illegal. They still have a hostility towards them. That's why in France right now, there is banlieue. Banlieue is like places where these illegal immigrants that come from Libya and come from like sub-Saharan Africa and into Libya and into these places and then take a boat into Southern Europe. And these people wait for like 20 years. In fact, there's even singers and musicians that have been deported back after 20 years of residence, bro. After 20 years of being illegal. So I'm saying that this is not, let's not blind ourselves to say that this is open immigration policies. It's not. It's a fad. They come, and especially look what's happening in Italy right now. They're getting these people and they're putting them in literal plantations and farms and making them work as illegal immigrants and
But
with
yes,
horrible
but
conditions.
I agree with you on what you've just said about what's going on in Italy. But could you not see how someone could say what is happening in Italy now is because in the past they were very open and they allowed lots of people in. And this was what then made the people then vote for a far right party. So at one point they were very accepting. Could you see that, or do you still think that no?
Of course,
because it's
I see that, but it's over suppression. Like they're coming in large quantities that they physically don't have the capability to stop all of these people from coming into the country. Do you get what I mean?
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is what you're talking about now is as a result of them being very liberal and allowing people in. That's why now they have this far right fascist thing. Whereas before they were very open and very liberal. But as you mentioned, so many people are coming over, they're struggling. So then ordinary people start wanting control on the borders. They start getting called racist. They get upset. They then vote for some fascist party to come into power. But it's as a result of them trying to be understanding. I don't know, I'm just putting it out there because I think they were being very understanding, they were being very liberal, and this then caused people to then vote for this far right party that's ruling in Italy.
I don't really see it like that. I see it more as of a necessity in which these people that are in the West need. Like, for example, a lot of people that are in France right now, they have been asked to come to France in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, and they were asked and they were said, just like the Windrush, ironically, that they would get citizenship and all these things, and they're still waiting for the citizenship to this day. In fact, many of them are getting deported that have been there for 20 years, 30 years. They're now getting deported. So this is not a really open policy. This is them needing labor and them needing cheap labor to fill in the gaps of whatever problems they had before. It's not really an open policy.
But
you can't say that's an open policy.
What labor value does large amounts of Somalian women and children bring?
Large amount of Somalian women and children bring?
Yeah, Somalian immigration is probably at its highest. So, I mean, we can understand why a lot of men, like, because if you notice migrants are mostly men. There's very few women or children. But Somalian communities immigrate legally. And it's mostly families, a lot of old people, women, children. What labor value is there then?
And also, let's not forget also certain peoples and certain groups of people that are back home and they come in, especially in Somalia and them areas, they're coming from privileged families. That's one thing people don't also mention.
You reckon?
They definitely come from
rich people from Somalia.
No. I'm not saying that they're rich people. I'm saying that they come from privileged backgrounds, and on top of that, a lot of Somalian women work, work in places like, cleaning and stuff like that other people won't do, other jobs that people like normal white people wouldn't do.
Right.
So it's not like it's everybody. It's a free for all. Oh, come here, we'll welcome you with love and harmony and peace and oh no, it's not like that, man.
All
It's
right.
not like that.
For real.
One thing I wanted to ask everybody on the panel, it was something very interesting that Raz mentioned a while ago. And I think I've spoken to Buddha and to Scattered Minds about it, but I'd like to ask other people in the panel who haven't given their opinion. Do you think that when it comes to the issue of racism, that it's not really worth talking to a non-Black person about it? If they don't see what you see, it's not worth trying to educate them on it. You should just really not bother.
No, I disagree.
Okay, please tell me why.
Yeah, because I mean, in order to break the walls down, you have to have these types of conversations. I mean, you might not necessarily get through to everybody, but in order to make somebody understand who doesn't understand, you have to talk to them. Like, for instance, the way I see it is you can't be expected to know what you haven't been taught, right? Now, once somebody has the information, they may very well just sort of laugh it off and just belittle it or rubbish it even. But I do believe sometimes when you talk to somebody and give them the facts, it's enough to change their minds, and surely that's the goal.
Okay.
Can I say something real quick to that? If you don't mind, brother.
Sure.
I remember growing up in the early 2000s, like 7, 8, and I used to see billboards on TV and on like the roads and saying no to racism and show racism the red car and all these stuff with the red card, yeah. But right now, like people know, it's not like people don't know not to be racist. People know it's bad to be a racist and it's bigoted to be a racist. Racists are shunned in society. It's like how being gay a couple of years ago was. If you're a racist, you stink. You're gonna be shamed. But people are still racist. So to talk to a racist about not being racist, it makes no sense whatsoever. Because if you look at football, everybody knows in football the amount of money spent, billions spent on billboards of saying no to racist, but football hooligans still show up and chant monkey, 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 N-word, N-word, N-word. So if you really want to talk to these people and try to show them some logic, what logic is there when it's blatant, no, don't be racist? It's blatant. It's on your TV screens. It's everywhere. Everyone talks about it, but they're still racist. So trying to have a logical conversation with someone that's not logical, it's an illogical decision.
Okay. Fine. Fair enough. 9 there's a question I wanted to ask you. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, bub.
Cool. It was in regards to what Buddha said a while ago. We were talking about the subject of people being called house Negroes or the N-word by Black people because from a political point of view, they were viewed as traitors. I don't like to use the term. I don't think Scattered Minds doesn't like to use the term, but it was something interesting. He was giving examples of people that could be looked at as being traitors. And he mentioned Beyonce. Now, I was curious, can you give me your opinion? Do you think that Beyonce's behavior has somehow made her treacherous or a traitor towards Black people?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow, I'd like to. Okay, how? Please do tell.
But okay, all right. But let me. I've said that, but let me come back a little bit. Yeah, it's my opinion is one of this. Yeah, to be Black and make it, you have to compromise. Do you understand? Yeah. So she has severely compromised. Why has she compromised? Because I don't think she's necessarily promoted Black women in the best light. Do you understand? Yeah, I mean, yeah, and But the thing it's so political, though, isn't it? Because we know that at the end of the day, the establishment or the powers that be, or whatever you want to call it, they don't necessarily promote positive black stereotypes. Yeah, that's not what sells. Yeah, so if you not even remember Beyonce back in the day when she was in what's it called?
Destiny's Child.
Yeah, for some reason I was gonna say wet, wet, wet. You know.
Wet, wet, wet.
But yeah, when she was in Destiny's Child, yeah. So in them early days, she was on point in that respect. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I thought the way that they, not just herself, but they presented themselves was edifying enough for young ladies, isn't it? Because we know how important people in the media are and how powerful they are, etc., etc. Yeah? All right. So Beyonce, and even the songs were, some might call them a little bit sort of feminism-ish or whatever, because I used to hear that type of talk, but it wasn't detrimental per se. That's what I would say. And she was just encouraging black women to be independent, whatever, whatever. All right. She then went and hooked up with Jay-Z. And then there was a rap. I don't know if you don't remember, I can't even remember the tune, but I can remember the video where Beyonce changed, didn't it? She was no longer wholesome Beyonce. Now, obviously, we can appreciate that as ladies and we all mature, so you can't always be that. Do you understand me? But what they brought out was just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like she was in some hot pants, yeah, some Timbs, bare legs, bare red lipstick. And if you remember, in the video itself, there was like a fire in terms of a symbology of the old her, and that's when they kind of brought all that type of malarkey.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of digressing a bit, but I am staying on point in that. Do I think she was thingworthy to black women? Yes, I do, because what she then done is that she came with a completely different narrative. You understand? And then if we even see how black women have become from when a woman like her boss, yeah, to even prior to her, where you had women like Lauryn Hill, which is my girl. Do you understand? And you can see the difference in qualities and everything. So is she a traitor? Yes, unfortunately she is. Yeah.
I'll just jump in there quickly because I just want to clarify real quick. It wasn't me that said that she that Beyonce was a traitor. That was Buddha.
No. I never said it was you. It was Buddha.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. You made that clear. But also, I do want to come in defense of Beyonce, but I'll do that in a second because I know Bigger's in the room. He ain't said nothing yet, and I think maybe he got some positive words for Beyonce too. Bigger, you there? All right, cool. Bigger ain't there. All right, cool. So in defense of Beyonce, I hear what both Buddha and Nani are saying about her and being detrimental to black sisters and stuff like that. But I think we have to look at things in I don't know. I think in the long run she hasn't been that detrimental. I think what she actually shows is a successful black woman who's married a black man, has black children, and has released in the past few albums. I could say past 3 albums have all had sort of themes of black female empowerment running through them. So she's shown that she's gone to a position where she perhaps is speaking her own mind, or maybe she's just speaking about something that's marketable. I'm not sure, but I think it is more she's speaking her own mind. I think in like her with the blown weave and stuff like that, like I agree that it's not necessarily the greatest images to put across. It would be great if she did more African traditional hairstyles than what she does right now. Most of the time she's always got a European weave in rather than any sort of African inspired type weave. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily like, I don't know, like I do feel like if people feel like they have to look like Beyonce to look good, that is a problem.
Yeah, but come on, Scattered. We know that a time came where Beyonce became a kind of, I don't use the word archetypal, but you understand, like that was a lot of women's vision. No, more importantly, it was a lot of men's vision.
100. And that's why I'm trying to be like hypocritical now. Like I can't stand here and say Beyonce, like I could mock people with blonde weaves all I want, but like Beyonce looks good. Do you know what I mean? But to me anyway, so.
No, well, but and okay then. And this is what I'm saying where she's been detrimental. Yeah, because persons like her, they've moved the, what's the word?
the bar.
The goalpost for, oh, come on, for looks of a woman. Do you understand me?
Yeah, no,
like, she is not your average black woman.
No, no. But I think it's easy to. I mean, look, I would say Beyonce looks good, but equally, I would say Kelly looks good. And I used to say that Kelly Rowland looked better than Beyonce, in my opinion, when I was growing up. Do you know what I mean? I used to prefer Kelly. I had a crush on Kelly more than I did on B. But that's not to say that B is not good looking. Do you know what I mean? It just so happened that B was the one that was more mainstream and was, like you say, push forward and push at the forefront.
Yo, Scattered, you sound like you've listened to a bit of Bay, boy. Hey.
What do you mean listen to Bay? Like,
because you're calling her Bay. Nah, I'm only joking. Talk with you.
Okay, yeah. But Gallup Bay, yeah, she's So like I said, like she's been pushed to the forefront of the whole thing. But at the same time, I think you have to give credit where credit's true in many ways, and like it's almost like if someone was to say they pushed Michael Jackson to the forefront, you have to say no, Michael was the most talented and he worked the hardest. Do you know what I mean? And I think in many ways, Beyonce probably was given more opportunities than Kelly or Michelle was, but you can see that Beyonce works ridiculously hard for, like, she seems.
But was that by coincidence or incidence?
What do you mean?
What you just said, that they pushed Beyonce to the front and basically all the other girls got lost. And I'm asking you, and you're saying obviously she worked hard, so I'm not taking that away from her. Yeah. And I will give her a props, you get me. It's only just because of the narrative of this conversation, because there's other ways in which I can big her up. You understand? But it's only just the appearance of this conversation.
I hear you.
But
yeah, she was pushed forward.
That you made, yeah, the mere fact that they pushed Beyonce to the front. You understand? The darker girls got. You understand? I mean, this is nothing new.
But it's also about, like, for example, if you're marketing and you're a manager and you're looking at that group, you're going to say to yourself, if you're a crude capitalist, as a lot of those people are in the music industry, you're going to say, what's going to sell better? And they're going to say, Beyonce will probably sell better. But I think on top of that, we have to be fair. Beyonce dances, her whole entertainment performance is way better than the other two. Kelly doesn't dance like Beyonce dances. Michelle, like, not sure she can dance, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? No disrespect.
So now let's even ask the question then. What she sacrificed? Has she sacrificed anything to get that thing? Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
What do you mean sacrifice?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
Yeah, what do you mean sacrifice? I'm curious.
Time, effort, money,
blood.
So so do we believe then that Beyonce is in the position she is in purely because of time and sacrifice to her art and craft? Is that
yeah, she's been doing that since she was a kid. So yeah.
Nah, well, gentlemen, at this point, the conversation might need to be opened again, man.
So why don't you tell us?
I want you to tell us.
No, but I mean, surely we all know by now that for an entertainer to get to a certain realm, yeah, they have to be a certain way. Yes?
What way?
What do you mean, what way? Are
you talking about the casting couch system where she has to give sexual favors? Is that what you mean? Because I know that happens. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm probably way past the casting couch type of thing.
Like what? The casting couch I can understand. What other stuff are you talking about?
Okay, so do we acknowledge that for an entertainer or any such person to be in the heights of their thing, that they're generally there because of a little bit more than their raw given talent? Especially persons, yeah?
Possibly, but I mean, I'll stop playing dumb now. I know the road you're going down, basically. I agree and I disagree with this road to some extent, because I'm not sure, like, how much of it is true and how much of it is real. Like, I think it's very possible for somebody to be incredibly successful as a musician and as an artist without having to cut any deals, shall we say, or put it like that. However,
give me an example, and let's have a look into it. Give me an example.
Well, of musicians who's become successful.
Yeah, that hasn't had to, as you call it. Yeah, let's have a little look.
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson.
Now you're obviously taking the mix. So let's find a less obvious one.
Bob
Even
Marley.
Michael told us.
Okay, Bob
Michael
Marley.
told us everything we need to know about the thing.
That's
When
a
you
good
hear,
point. That's a good point. No, Scattered Minds said it.
when you
Who was
hear,
the artist? You said Scattered Minds. Who was the artist?
Bob Marley.
are you mad? He told you too.
What did he
Really?
tell us?
Bob told you. Don't you remember when Bob said, no. Don't you remember the interview when he done said that? Don't you think I know what you lot are doing? Remember, they had to get rid of Bob, you know.
Yeah, but I want you to elaborate and flesh this out. I can't remember that interview, to be fair.
Yeah, there's an interview where listen, like the blood clot and all similar thing. Anyway, he basically said in English, don't you lot think I know what you understand that you did. And obviously, even recently, you had the FBI man come out and say whatever he did and this, that, and the other. Understand?
I don't know. I'm not convinced about that Bob Marley thing.
Okay, hold on a minute. What aren't you convinced? I mean, when I'm talking about Bob, I'm not saying that he got to the heights because of whatever, yeah. But I'm saying he was brought down because of his heights, in terms of Bob, yeah. So that's
dispute that. Nobody disputes that. But did he have to do something to become successful?
Oh no. No, I'm not saying that about Bob. No,
Okay.
I'm not saying that about Bob, but I'm saying he was taken out because of that success. And that's definitely what I'm saying.
Okay.
But Michael, that's what I'm saying now. Michael was he was groomed from beginning to end. Well, not the end, probably beginning to about the last 10 years. And you saw when Michael started to reject the thing, and you saw what happened. Yeah, and Michael come out and told us playing. If
but
you
don't want you to tell me what is this thing? What is this thing that Beyonce has done behind the scenes?
Yeah, okay.
Casting couch.
All right. Okay, sorry. Have you seen any of her videos? Do you understand? I mean,
the stuff that I've seen is talking about witchcraft and satanic stuff.
So
you don't believe that to be true then?
I think it's very entertaining, but I don't know if it's true.
I personally don't believe that stuff to be true when they talk about Beyonce being involved in witchcraft and things like this and that. I mean, at the end of the day, could she be? Very well be. She could very well be involved in witchcraft and so on. Like, but I don't think that. I think that people always have throughout history always talked about other people in certain positions with this sort of eye of suspicion and conspiracy, and sometimes those flames are fanned. And I think if there is any group out there that are going around adopting artists into some sort of murky sort of occultist sort of group, and they have all this power that we believe them to have, they would have probably had a lot more power to shut down these conversations that are happening so widely about them. And I think it's a lot more of interest for us to pay attention to a lot of this stuff and these conspiracies than it is to pay attention to actually the real issues that are affecting us. I honestly don't think Beyonce or Michael Jackson, as influential as they were and are, that they are so influential that they are being used to control people. I think people are pretty much controlling themselves and actually choosing. And I think our brains have become hardwired to choosing pleasure over actual substance. And I think the government are more interested in hardwiring our brains towards that kind of idea than they are in
scattered. But that's the whole. Sorry to cut in, but just before I forget, that's the whole reason they're there, babe. They are a tool of that exact thing that you just described.
Okay, I understand that. But within our community, I would say the African community, going all the way back, we've always had great musicians, people who have become well known across kingdoms and so on and so forth because of their musical abilities. And entertainment has always been a part of our culture. So Beyonce is just another further part of that culture. I don't think she is the enemy of that. And I think if you saw like her Getting Formation performance and all those sorts of things, she is doing a lot to try and actually, and all throughout her career, she's actually done a lot to try and do the whole feminist and raising up women. I don't think she's ever actually done a song which you could only pinpoint to and say this is actually negative or destructive towards the Black community.
Yeah, that's why I was always surprised with what you, Nainitha, what you said and what Buddha said. That's why I was very interested in hearing what you had to say about it. Because I mean, all the stuff about the devilry and all that, I can understand. All the stuff about the weave, yeah, I can understand that. But being treacherous to her own people, that's the part I'm still struggling to see. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just don't haven't seen what you or Buddha see.
I mean, I don't know if treacherous is the right word. I'm not sure if that's the word that I used. And if I did, then I need to maybe rewind again. Yeah.
No, I'm just using that word. Sorry.
Let me start on saying big up Beyonce and Jay-Z. You understand? As a power couple and all that good stuff. Yeah, we can't take that away. You understand? Forbes 100 and all that good stuff. Yeah, 100%. So you know, like you said, give them their props. As a female, like I said, there was a time when Beyonce done good stuff. I'm not saying that. So again, let me give her props in terms of, you know what I mean, as a motivational woman, and not just for black females, I would say. You understand?
Yeah.
But for females in general. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying to you? And yeah, there's a few tunes from her old album that, yeah, on a sunny day, that's me. So okay, I'm gonna give her props there. But you know what it is? Probably my view is skewed because of the other things that I know. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Rightly or wrongly. Yeah. You cannot get to that. You cannot get to them echelons in the entertainment industry, yeah, without being on some stuff. Do you understand? And I don't know if you lot know that, and I'm not even sure if this is even the platform, the time to even bring that. I just kind of assumed that, you get me, you lot knew it, as it were. But that's why all I'm gonna say is, yeah, go and have a look at Michael Jackson's video, They Don't Care About Us, yeah? He's done 2 videos. One of them is just in a jail. Oh, yeah. And one for the same song. You know the song, innit?
Yeah. I love that song. I love that video. I'm a massive Michael Jackson fan. I watched all of the videos you're talking about in terms of the analysis of all of that. And I even watched the video where he was talking about Tommy Mottola and Sony and all of this sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
I just wanted, wait, hold on a minute. I wanted to ask something here. Buddha, are you still there? Can you give your opinion on this? It seems you and 9ether9, obviously you see something in Beyonce, which I'm not disputing, but I just have a problem in seeing it. So can you just share your opinion on that subject, please?
Okay, cool. So do you guys remember a singer called Cisco?
Yes.
And he done a song called Fong Song.
Yeah.
Right. Do you remember this guy having silver hair?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I want you to imagine you've got a child, a son, and he's maybe, I don't know, 16 years old. And one day he goes out, goes to school or whatever, and then walks back into the house with silver hair. What would your reaction be?
See, that's
Would you think that was normal, or do you...
I wouldn't say it's normal, but I mean, no, I wouldn't think it's normal.
I'd say impossible in my household, but I understand the point you're getting at. But
right.
Yeah.
So when I'll be specific about what I'm saying. So when you've got a young black girl who goes out, sees Beyonce's videos and see how much the boys like Beyonce's videos, and she's thinking, you know what, sure, let me go get a blonde weave or a blonde wig. You know what, them man might give me some attention, right? So she goes and gets this blonde wig. She doesn't just get a blonde wig. She appropriates or applies a persona that goes together with the blonde wig. You with me? Remember what I said about art imitating life?
Mm.
Okay, then you see specific behavior changes and stuff. I witnessed that. I saw loads of black girls back in the day walking around with blonde weaves, and I'm thinking, what is going on? Like, what is this about?
Yeah, I have to agree, man. And that's why, just to cut in, Buddha, yeah, that's why I'm going to try and give you the comparison of Beyonce and Lauryn Hill in her heyday. You understand me? And
what do you mean? Lauryn Hill sold a lot of records as well, but people didn't necessarily run out and start dreading up and trying to be like Lauryn.
Oh, but they did.
Did they? Okay.
But they did. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It was a different message. It was a more wholesome message. Understand?
I don't know. I mean, I remember back in the 90s. I mean, I'm not from the Caribbean, but I remember when dancehall became international. All these dancehall artists, and you used to see this thing called dancehall queens. And they used to wear these weaves where their hair were like pink and silver and green and whatnot. I mean, were they being sellouts or were they just expressing themselves? I don't understand.
But you see,
that's
sorry. Sorry, what were you saying, Buddha?
The same coin.
That's authentic Jamaican culture there. Sorry,
wait, hang on. Buddha was about to say something.
Right. So, okay. So, you know, silver, green, blue, red, they're not actually hair colors and hair specifications within human nature. Do you understand? Blonde, however, is. So when I'll draw back to the 50s when the experiments were done with young children, young black children, and they gave them two dolls. And one doll was black and one doll was white. The doll had blonde hair and one doll had black hair. They asked the children, which doll do you like? And the black girls would say, yeah, I like the blonde one. Why do you like the blonde one? Because it's got nice hair, it's pretty, it's beautiful. Why don't you like the black one? Because the black one's naughty. It's got kinky hair, it's got this, it's got that. So this is like the narrative that's been pushed from those days and up until now. Yeah. When we see anything that's negative, it's always black, it's always dark. When you go to a funeral, you wear dark clothes. When you go to a wedding, you wear a white dress.
Correct.
Yeah. All of these things that that are associated with dark is negative, and everything that seems to be associated with white seems to be positive. So when you have a black person reinforcing the idea that white is superior in some way or some fashion, pardon the pun, then that is what you said when you use the word treacherous. I would say detrimental. Okay, so
okay, I see what you mean. So what you are talking about is the promotion of colorism.
Right. So she's perpetuating the notion that to be beautiful, I need to have blonde hair. Well, in actual fact, rude girl, you can shave your head if you're still an empress. Do you understand?
100. I agree with that. I agree with a lot of pretty much all of what Buddha's saying in terms of, when you look at it, the power for the entertainment industry to influence people is definitely a factor. You can't take that away. That being said, however, I do think sometimes within the black community, we don't necessarily look at nuance within this conversation. So we had Beyonce and we had Kelly to choose from. Overwhelmingly, one second, wait. Overwhelmingly, black males chose Beyonce. Overwhelmingly, let's be fair and let's be honest. Whether you might say personally you might have liked Kelly or whatever, overwhelmingly black males chose Beyonce. Marketing wise, it made more sense and business sense to market and push Beyonce, etc., etc. But when it comes down to it, I feel like we have to have this conversation very carefully, because I think Beyonce within herself, okay, she's been successful, okay, yes, she's benefited from colorism, but at the same time, Beyonce cannot help the fact that she is a light-skinned black woman. So when we say promoting colorism in the black community, should we then stifle Beyonce's success and push forward a dark-skinned person in her place? Or should we allow the natural order of things to happen, where we just look at success above all? And actually, we should actually be having this conversation and focusing more on black men as to why they are looking at Beyonce so much.
Well, yeah, I was with you until a point, Scattered, because are you not then acknowledging that they haven't even though she's a light-skinned chick, don't you see how they've lightened her even more? Don't you see in certain pictures she could pass as a near white woman? Don't you see that she never? What's the most important thing about a black woman that makes her black? What feature?
Skin tone, I imagine.
Her hair.
Thank you. Her hair.
Okay.
Yeah. Beyonce never.
Hair comes in all different kinds of forms. Do you know what I mean? So that's another difficult and tricky one. But yeah.
Well, maybe for you as a male, it's difficult and tricky. Yeah. But I'm telling you, for me as a female, it's not.
Yeah, but I mean, but are you talking for light-skinned black females as well who have wavy hair?
I'm talking for black females, period.
Okay, cool. Because like I say, one of my sisters, I talk to her all the time about this particular subject, and she says as a light-skinned woman, she feels it's very polarized, and she actually feels like she's being attacked. And this is what I'm trying to say here, is we can actually have this conversation on a way where we're bringing everybody in, dark skin and light skin, and bringing them together. rather than actually doing it in a level where we're trying to point the finger at a light-skinned person and say to them that it's upon you to look more black or to accentuate your black features. No, you can look however you want. It's upon black men to recognize that there's beauty within all black women and to stop running after the blonde hair wearing black women. Because
but in the community, that's fine. But we're talking about Beyonce, a superstar.
But why is she responsible for the people who are attracted to her? She can look how she wants to look, no?
Well, no, but that's the point, though. You're talking like her whole look is what she has put forward and designed.
So who put it forward and designed it for her?
The people around her, the machine around her.
Okay, cool. Which is her record company, or are you saying it's above that?
Both.
So when Michael Jackson was wearing like his random like action figure like jackets and stuff like that, was that his choice or his people around him?
You know, Scat, let me give you an example. You know, Michael Jackson had the glove with the sparkling. You know, initially Michael Jackson wanted to wear a black glove. You know, his record label said, no, you can't wear that because that will be taken as a symbolization of the Black Panther movement. They specifically said, no, you cannot. Here, wear this. It's got diamonds on it.
Yeah.
You understand? So when you talk about record label, it's not just the record label. The record label has a marketing division around it. They have every single thing, whether it be your teeth, your hair, your eyes, everything. You know, whenever you see,
it's all within the record label, isn't it? So like, I get that.
It's like Nynefa said, it's a machine, right? So imagine when you see Beyonce advertising perfume and stuff like that. Go and look again. 9 times out of 10, you'll see it's a black and white picture. It's never a color picture. It's always a black and white picture. Not to accentuate her features, her color of her skin or anything like that.
No,
hold on. When you see what's the girl from Leon? What's her name? She's in Star Wars.
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman. When you see Natalie Portman advertising a perfume or something like that, guess what? It's the color picture you're seeing. You think this is all done by accident?
Possibly, yeah. So like you're saying, the record label itself is a machine. It has all these departments with it, from marketing and so on. So that's really what I was getting at when I was asking Nynefa a question, was who was deciding this sort of stuff. And if we're going to say it's a record label, that's fair enough.
Have you heard of the powers that be?
I've heard people talk about it, yeah, but
believe it to be true.
The Pope. Who's the powers that be? I don't know.
I've heard several people talk about this sort of thing.
Who are we talking about? What's this cryptic espionage type language going on? Who is the powers that be? Are we in trouble if we mention their name? Because if we are, I'll stop pushing to hear. I don't know. I think what Nynefa is alluding to is elements within the Illuminati and people. Okay, all right, that stuff. Thanks for clearing up. Okay.
But yeah,
you guys, you've just made Scatterminds a target, man. I'm joking.
I've been trying to run away from, like, hide out from that for the longest. No, but I like, for me. So yeah, sorry. Let me try to pick up where I was. So basically, if that was the case, it's fair enough. Like I say, I'm one who like for a lot of what you guys say, I'm willing to accept that it might be true. It could be 100% be true, but I don't need to see a little bit more evidence. And like I say, I watched a lot of the videos around the whole particularly around Michael Jackson, being a big fan, being around like his death, being around all these sorts of stuff in terms of things involved. And for me, it seemed to I don't know. I feel like people see things, especially with our community, and then we add extra things on top of it. So when I watch Michael Jackson's interview and he's talking about Tony Mottola and he's talking about Sony and he's talking about the record labels, yeah, he's talking about them as though they're evil people and as though they're stealing for him. And maybe even he's talking about them like there's some sort of strange rituals going on. But that's not really what I got from it. I got from it that these were very cold-hearted, harsh, capitalistic people who have been ripping off and stealing from the industry for many years, and that they continue to do it. I get the impression and the idea that he's talking about oligarchs and very rich and powerful people like the Koch brothers and people like Jimmy Iovine and these people who control, or Tony Mottola, these people who control record labels and actually come from families which have controlled record labels.
Can I just ask you a quick question as you're continuing, yeah?
Okay,
and I might need to come off of this thing, you know. Let me ask you a question, yeah? You see Whitney, yeah? Whitney Houston, yeah? Did she die or was she murdered?
I have no idea. I haven't looked into that at all. I have not looked into that at all. Like,
you see her daughter, yeah? You know Whitney's daughter?
Will be Christina.
Well, okay. Was did she just die the next year or was she murdered?
Officially, she died. Officially. Unofficially, it's open to interpretation.
Okay. Michael Jackson, did he just die or was he murdered?
Officially, he died. Unofficially, it's open to interpretation.
Well,
same as Prince.
No, it's not, witness. I mean, did the doctor go to prison?
No, but yeah, that part, yeah, I agree with. But it's like, why did the doctor do what he did? Did he do what he did for personal gain, or was someone else controlling him, telling him to do that?
Okay, are you not serious? Or are you playing devil's advocate?
Talk for a second. But I hear you though on those questions. And like I'm saying, like with Michael Jackson, all that is completely possible. Do you know what I mean? But like I said to you, from my perspective, these come down to, like I was saying, oligarchs, very powerful people and very powerful families who have had power for many years. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily amount to me for some big major sort of, like I say in a lot of these YouTube videos, massive sort of conspiracy where in which everything is being controlled and where in which people have to, where no one makes it unless they do some kind of weird sacrifice ritual. For me, it comes across as a very loose, a network of very rich and powerful families who try their best to maintain control, who actually compete against each other to try and have control at times, who go against each other to have control against each other at times, and actually it's not actually quite well knit together. And when we start bringing when we start bringing places like China and Russia and South American countries and all of this sort of thing into it as well, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and we start asking these questions about who controls these countries, therefore it becomes a lot more messy to really see the world as being controlled neatly by this one group of people. Do you know what I mean? I think like I say, there's many group of people, it's very messy, and there's people who move in and out of that sort of bracket of the powers that be, as you put it, on and off, but we actually see it happening before our eyes quite often. It's not anywhere near as secretive or hidden, I think, in my opinion, as people believe it is.
Do you know what, Scad? I don't.
Play a tune. Go on, Buddha. Sorry, darling.
Do you know what, Scad? I don't personally subscribe to any of these Illuminati conspiracy type things. I find some of the conspiracy out there ridiculous and some of them kind of far-fetched. However, there are things that exist, like the fraternities within the American educational system, such as Skull and Bones, right? Now, these fraternities, these Skull and Bone type fraternities, do engage in very weird, shall we say, initiations, which to the normal people would say that is really weird and somewhat evil or satanic or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so there is viable information out there that kind of perpetuates this narrative of an Illuminati type scenario. But moreover, we have to ask ourselves, what are the Illuminati? For many years, we had things like Bilderberg, and
still goes on.
Yeah, hold on. So for those many years, they denied the existence of Bilderberg. It's only, I think, in the past 3 or 4 years that they've actually said, yeah, it does happen. Sorry, yeah, it does actually exist, and yes, they do come around, and they do all these heads of industry come together and have a meeting. We don't know what the agenda on the meeting is. We don't know what the minutes are. We don't know anything about what the meeting is, but we have all these people at these types of meetings. So it's
Yeah.
easy for conspiracists. It's easy for these conspiracists to make the case, and a viable case, that there are elements within society that control the world or control aspects of the world.
Mm. Yeah. I don't, like I say to you, like I say, I don't disagree with that, but like I say, all of this, a lot of this stuff happens before our eyes. So like you say, the Bilderberg group, like I'm not so sure about ever being hidden, to be fair. Like I've known about it for as long as I've been into politics, which has been for about, I don't know, for about 15 years. I've known about the Bilderberg groups and stuff like that and those meetings. So
But
I'm not,
scattered,
yeah.
15 years ago, you would have been considered a conspiracist. So it's only now that you're not considered as conspiracist
No,
because
I'm pretty sure there was viable information out there that the Bilderberg meetings were happening, and politicians just always said it was to foster, relations between North America. I can't remember the thing they said, but something about
9/11.
bringing North America. No, it's not about that. About bringing North America and Europe together. Like it's good. Like it sounds like it's happened. Goes back to the 70s, I think it is. But basically, this thing's been going on for a while.
What about the
Bilderberg group? But like one second, like I was saying, for me, like I say, it's all there for people to see, and it's not necessarily a big conspiracy thing. It's happening. These groups get together, but these groups actually don't necessarily agree. So at the Bilderberg conference, you have people that will get together, very powerful, rich people from America, very powerful, rich people from Europe, and they're going to clash heads, and they're going to argue, and they're going to say, you know what? Let's agree what's going to be best for all of us. And should I tell you what that is? That's not Illuminati or anything like that. It's called pan-Europeanism. Right, and that's why I've been here trying to push Pan-Africanism. I'm trying to say, black people, we need to get together, have our meetings, and plan our agendas, because that's what they're doing there. They're just getting together and they're planning an agenda for how they're going to run the world. As for the Skull and Bone Society and some of those university fraternities, yeah, I 100% agree to you. There's some dodgy rituals. We got some of those lawful societies here in the UK, or worshipful companies here in the UK that have some very strange rituals as well. But like I say, many of these companies or factions compete against each other. They're not all knitted together or committed to one particular goal. Do you know what I mean? And I think the more we put them up there and start viewing them as that, is the harder it gets for us to understand how easy it is actually, and how fragile their system actually is, and actually how it can come apart with concerted efforts from concerted opposition. As for Beyonce and Jay-Z, I mean, how much sway do you think either of those really actually have within any of those sort of things? Do you think they are really like mad amounts of power is being put out there to go and recruit Beyonce into joining these groups? I don't really believe so. I think Beyonce is compliant. She does what she wants, and she's got enough power for what she wants, and she's putting out very much pro-black images and stories. I think thing about her hair and her weave and thing, I think it comes down to essentially differences in black women, and I think that comes more down to us in the black community promoting and championing our own black heroes, and we need to ask our question of ourselves why we're not doing more, rather than at Beyonce. So I don't think necessarily like Beyonce, one woman, and she's doing her own thing. She's just a successful woman, but she's one woman at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? And there's plenty of dark-skinned black women, like Michelle just the other day. She married a white man. Do you know what I mean? Like, but people ain't really gonna get at her. People want to spend more time talking about Beyonce and light skin or whatever. And I have no problem, by the way, with Michelle marrying the white man. I just wanted to point out how people seem to gravitize towards attacking Beyonce, but whilst at the same time she's still buying her albums and supporting her and loving her, and not necessarily doing the same for the dark-skinned people they claim to so love.
I didn't know that about the other chick. So she married, who did she marry? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't agree with most of what you said, still, Scared. I thought, but I'll come back.
And the progression, I think, where we can see the use of media, and these people not having these people that we see and we revere to be independent from the whole system per se. You can just see that through the evolution of hip hop. And to Beyonce's point, I feel like Beyonce is just a culture vulture, bro. Like, on a real thing, yeah, like I like she's now putting out these image of black power and Africa and stuff like that. Same thing with Jackson, or what's her name, Janet Jackson. The last video she done about African stuff like that. They're all culture vultures, bro. They don't give a shit about black people. They put these things because black people are on that wave right now. If black people were on the wave of black people, they'd be on that vibe as well. So it's just a marketing scheme where they're trying to maximize the profits, because Beyonce, all the screaming of "I love Africa," she's never done a concert, and she said that, I think she said that she doesn't do concerts in Africa. So to be honest, I don't really spend time talking about these people because they're not going to give us tangible solutions. It's about us on the ground level making our own movements and pushing these people out of our community and chasing them out of our community. I'm frankly boycotting them.
From what everyone said, can anybody actually give an example of a black celebrity or artist that is not regarded as being a sellout?
I can give you several.
Please do.
Denzel Washington.
So we've got the early hip hop movement, Professor Griff, the whole of Public Enemy, NWA to a certain degree. Who else can we go? Spike Lee, as my brother said.
Nah, Spike Lee is sellout, bro.
I don't know. I think maybe
and NWA sold out the other direction, man. They're sellouts. Fuck NWA.
Yeah.
To what I think. I don't know. That's a.
Denzel Washington,
Yeah,
definitely,
Denzel
but Denzel Washington wouldn't kiss a white girl, bro.
I don't know. Have you seen some? You know, bro. Yeah. Anyway, that's another thing. But yeah. So there's a few there. Bob Marley as well.
Bob Marley and Public Enemy. Those are the two that everyone seems to agree on. Fela Kuti, yeah, Fela. All right, Fela. Okay, I see what you guys mean by those who are sellouts and those who are.
Tick and Jafar, Colleen. Let's not forget my brother there.
Interesting. I need to do more research on these artists. Obviously, I mean, I don't take them, some of them, seriously, but I can see where their promotion of colorism is detrimental to.
But this is the thing. This is the thing. Witness, to the uninitiated eye, they don't recognize and see these things.
That's right.
But
that's why it's so dangerous. That's why I'm listening and laughing. I'm like, wow, this is really how they get away with it, man.
And do you know about, like, do you guys see the way and how they introduced the advertisement to brainwash the masses, and it was like basically them trying.
Wait, hang on, Raz. Wait, hang on. Buddha, you wanted to finish? Sorry, you were about to say something else.
Yeah, I can't remember what I was saying.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Raz. Continue, please.
Yeah, sorry to cut you, but I couldn't hear you properly because I have something else going on in the back. But yeah, they have this powerful hold on the media, and the way they push certain images, repetitive images, brainwashes the people without even them knowing that they're being brainwashed. The prime example is the doll experiment. You see the way you know, like having a negative portrayal of what is African or what is black, or you know, having a bad portrayal of that in the media can have detrimental effects in people's subconscious, and it was really demonstrated with children of the black doll and the white doll, which one do they prefer and stuff like that. So these images do have a very, very negative effect on people. And look, a prime example on white people.
Sorry, Ulrich. I hear you on the doll thing. I find it difficult maybe to get. Maybe I was raised up in the Rastafari household where we put black first. Do you know what I mean? And everything was pro-black. And this is why I keep bringing it back down to the black man. Do you know what I mean? Because we could talk all we want about Beyonce and the dolls and all of these sorts of things, but at the end of the day, we have to ask the question about why it is that the black man is going out there and choosing Beyonce or the white dolls, and why it is that we as a community have not done enough to uplift other variants of African or black women. Do you know what I mean? Rather than always talking about the light-skinned woman like it's her responsibility to, do something to be less visible.
Chat
It's,
man.
it's just to brother Scattermines, yeah. It's not that. It's we're all victims of it. Like, look at white people. Remember the whole white people being this and that, and you know they have this image that the Kim Kardashians
Sorry,
of
let
the
me
world.
jump in
Now
after Yurik, yeah.
yeah, then now white women are now coming out with this Kim Kardashian vibe and trying to imitate black women with the big bums, the big lips, and all these things. It's a programming tool. It's not like people are doing it willingly. They're just being programmed to do it. It's not to make sure people are aware, and our black brothers and our black sisters are aware of these things, and just basically showing them and telling them that, look, this is what they're doing, beware of it, so they won't fall victim. Like, look at the perfect example of this is the natural hair movement that's happening around the world with black women right now. This is a prime example of how someone took the initiative to create an online movement where they embrace their natural features. These things, it's all about deprogramming the mind, bro.
Okay. But
Okay.
you wanted to say?
All right, so let me jump in. I wanted to chime in earlier on about what you guys were talking, and Raz has kind of brought it back. So what I wanted to do is explain a couple of things to you. First of all, what Raz was saying about advertising. One of the first social media devices was the television. Prior to that, we had radio and literature. Within the literature, we see kids' books where they use words like pickaninny, and they use words like nigger. They use words. I think the book was called Three Little Niggers, or something like that. 6 Little Niggers, whatever. So there's literature where it demonizes black people. The radio, not so much, because it's not as descriptive as literature or TV. So we get onto television. So when televisions first started to become very popular, we had films like Tarzan, the black and white, the old black and white TV programs like Tarzan, where it shows the white man, king of the jungle, and all this kind of stuff. And then it demonizes the black people within that TV program, portraying them as savages and feeble-minded. These things get perpetuated time after time. Even the thing of King Kong. When we see King Kong, the original black and white stop motion production, that was literally a warning to white women about black men. Yeah, this is like it's the iconology of the gorilla is the black man. So all of a sudden, this black man wants the white woman to take her. Do you get what I'm saying? This whole narrative has been pushed out since time immemorial. Since black people were even discovered or known of within the Western world. Yeah. So when people see these TV programs and this indoctrination, it's no wonder that communities like the Chinese and the Thai or Indian or whatever they are have this notion or narrative that black people are savages, black people are wild, they're aggressive. You look at rap music and stuff like that. It's all, they don't see the other side. There are no black people in China. If they are, they're very few. I've been to China. I know how they treat me. I don't know how they treat other black people. Yeah, it's what they get on TV. It's what they get on their mobile phones. It's all of that kind of stuff. So the other thing I was gonna say was even in the military. Let me give you an example. Even in the military, they've got a division called the psyops. Yeah, psychological operations. Right. These are the propagandists. These are the people that I don't want to get too deep because it'll take up too much time. All right, but these guys actually sit down and figure out ways to manipulate in asymmetric warfare. Okay, even simple things like a leaflet. When you print a leaflet, what imagery do you use? What iconology do you use? What's going to be appealing to the people you're trying to attack or save? Yeah, this all draws back to people like Edward Bernays, the founder of advertising. But let me stop there because I'll just ramble on.
Scattered Minds, did you want to say something? Thanks for that, brother.
Yeah, thank you. I'm blessed up, brother, for that. Yeah, and I agree with you. Like I said, I grew up like my daddy was telling me about that whole King Kong white woman thing back when I was like 5 and 10. I remember that. So, but like I don't know. That's what I guess I'm trying to get across. Like having grown up in that sort of Rastafari pro-black background, my sort of mindset has always been that of I'm the king of the jungle. F Tarzan, I'm the king of the jungle. I'm the king of civilization. I'm the original of our civilization. Everything came from me and my peoples. Do you know what I mean? So that was the background of what I was raised in right from the start. And went Saturday school, that's what I was reinforced with. So this is why perhaps I'm kind of from this angle where I'm looking at Beyonce and saying, yeah, I can see the issue with the media, record labels, whoever, putting her at the forefront. But like you just said there are people who sit down all day, and I work with some of these people, and they think about how they could best advertise and sell things, or how they could, like you say, in war propaganda, all of these sorts of things, in flyers and leaflets, what kind of colors they should use, all of these things about. So advertising is a massive part of it, and they analyze it and they do massive. It's not just based on ideas or basic psychology. It's based on science and research and going out there and testing on people and finding out how people respond to things. So the question that we have to, and we really ought to be asking, because the only thing that we actually can control of, is ourselves and our own community, is why is it that we in the Black community are so susceptible to the advertising of light skin or white skin and white people? And instead of picking on Beyonce, because my thing is, look, as Black people, we come in all shades, all colors, all hair sizes, all hair textures, all of this. If you take all the African people in Africa and you just take one of each kind, they're gonna all look mad different, basically. Do you know what I mean? And so we need to be embracive and inclusive of every different type of African look, including people who might look like Beyonce or choose to have a blonde weave. We should be inclusive of those people. But the question is, should those people be promoted above other people? And if they are being promoted above other people, who is it that we need to question about why those people are being chosen? I think it's down to the men. And I think we have men on this panel, and it's a great time to ask the men, why is it that they go for a Beyonce over a Kelly Rowland?
A lot of home truths coming out. I mean, personally, I go for any woman that likes me. So I'm not preferential to light skin. If she's really dark, that's good. If she's light, that's good. So me, I don't mind. I don't care. I'll gladly go for Kelly Rowland. I'll gladly go for Beyonce. I'll gladly go for, what's the name of that? Lauryn Hill. I don't have a problem with either one. That's me. I don't know about the other guys. So.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, what do you think? To Scattered Minds question.
What was the question?
The question is, why is it that too many brothers seem to be going more for women who look like Beyonce and not dark Black sisters?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. One, we meet that they want to be pro-Black, but they also want to have that closeness to whiteness sort of thing.
Wow. That's deep. That's a very deep.
Come on, Rags, bring that fire for them, man. Cause I don't know what type of thing I'm listening to right now. Go on.
Because I've realized that, like, even at the Black Panther Party, something I realized is that a lot of the Black Panther leaders and the sub leaders, they were dark, but they always seem to always have light skinned women or mixed race women as their bunny, if you like to say. And I sort of was like, wait a minute, like, is like, okay, dark skinned women are the majority of the Black community in America and the world. But why is it that these brothers that are in leadership seem to always have a light skin or a mixed race a woman by their side? And I said to myself, okay, maybe it's because it's just a love preference. And
all white, don't get white.
Oh yeah, all right, sorry. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just that they fall in love. But then I was looking at it, I was like, this more acceptance and the sort of imagery and even in media, the way dark-skinned women are portrayed, angry, obnoxious, vile, hood rats, that type of image.
Over-sexualized.
Over-sexualized, prostitutes, and all of these things. So I was like, okay, I see a connection here. Okay, something's definitely going wrong with Black men, and they're buying into this image that's being fed.
I'm not disputing anything you're saying on an international perspective. I don't dispute that. But in regards to this panel here of men, where do you stand? Are you the kind of guy who's more interested in the Beyonce looking, or you don't mind, or you are strictly for dark-skinned women?
To be honest, yeah, I don't discriminate on anyone. Love is love. But what I was... No, wait, hold on. I know, because because I have light skinned people in my family, yeah, and and it's not about that. It's about it's about the reason why you choose. Yeah, preferably I like my women. The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. But I'm not gonna go into that. But I would understand if somebody would choose. Like I don't discriminate. Like, do you get me? But I would understand why someone would choose, would prefer one over the other because of what they're being shown through the media. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I hate you. Sorry.
But the sweeter the berry, the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. So you know the saying.
No,
You know how it goes.
sorry, witness. I just wanted to jump in there quickly because the reason why I was laughing was that there's kind of like the irony because you had just spent there, Ulrich, saying that about the Black Panther leaders and so on and so forth. We've got with light skinned people, but then you went on and I said to you, for you, it's not down to that. It's down to sort of like personality and who they are. And like you don't go out with someone based on looks, you go on based on personality and all these sorts of things.
Yeah, but I did say my preference though.
Yeah, I heard your preference for sure, but you said that you have a preference for dark skinned women for sure. But initially, what you said is you don't really want to say because basically you wanted to, you're open basically. It's down to personality and whoever comes along. If you fall in love, you're gonna fall in love basically. However, when it came to these other leaders, the Black Panther leaders, you don't necessarily offer them that same kind of opportunity. You sort of looked at them, looked at their partners, and said, "Oh no, they're specifically choosing light-skinned partners."
Yeah, because the reason why I said that is because if you look at who they grew up with and their surroundings and their environment, you'll see that the majority of the women they came in contact with were dark-skinned women, but they didn't choose that. Their environment didn't dictate to them, like which is the norm for many people, dictate to them who they will naturally draw upon. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So what I'm saying is that these men obviously had a reason why they chose the more preferred. Like even look at Kwame Nkrumah, for goodness sake, man. Like Kwame Nkrumah went to Romania and picked himself a wife. Like as if there weren't any African women that they could have like a positive image for black people in Ghana. But I'm not knocking him for that. I'm not knocking anything he did. I'm just saying there's a reason why the what's that guy that worked for the UN?
Kofi Annan.
Kofi Annan, yeah. There's a reason why these individuals go for lighter skinned women or white women because it's closer. They might feel they're able to maneuver in certain circles and other. That's what I said personally. I don't discriminate between people between light skin and white and dark skin women personally, but. Because I have gone through the stage where I'll detox my mind from these biases, yeah, but many people haven't, and many people are still in this cycle of choosing the one that looks more like massa than the one that looks more than themselves. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
No, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 1,000%. I think there is a lot of decolonization of the mind of the black man in particular, because like right now, I honestly think if you ask most black men, if they were being treated honest, I mean, I can't remember if you saw that YouTube video that was going around where I was asking like teenage black boys. They're all saying that their preference is curly hair, light skin girls, basically. So
exactly.
I think there's a lot to be done to sort of rebalance what is seen as beauty within our community and really put up and portray more darker skinned women, for sure. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think Beyonce is at fault for that. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a combination of things at fault for that, and we're all partly to blame for that. And I think, yes, us as a community have to put forward a lot more.
Before you finish, it's in regards to what you're saying. I wanted to quickly ask Buddha because he didn't give his opinion on the date and the question you asked, Scattered Minds, because I gave my opinion. Ulrich's giving his opinion. I'm just curious, Buddha.
Everybody.
Sorry? What was that?
Everything and everybody, Buddha.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more or less me. You know what? I've dated women from all around the world, so I don't have a specific preference. As I get older, things kind of get smaller in regards to what kind of women I can date, because most of them are either married or got children and blah, 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 blah. I'm not married. I don't have children, so it's a bit different. So I don't have any specific.
Okay, that's interesting. And Nine Ether, from what you've heard from the men here, from the men Buddha doesn't really have a specific he'll date anyone. Me, I've never dated a light-skinned or biracial woman. I've only dated black, but I don't have a problem dating a light-skinned person. Ulrich doesn't have a problem with black or light-skinned. And Scattered Minds, I didn't get your opinion on it.
Oh, man.
You were the one who asked the question. What's your opinion on it?
Oh man, I'm like, go wait down. No, so yeah, I've only ever, and I only will ever date black women. Long because I just why see it long term. My current girlfriend is a black woman. However, I suppose she would tend more towards the lighter skin side of the spectrum.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Yes, it's been black women, but I've also dated outside of my race. So it's been black and outside of my race, but I've never dated biracial or a light-skinned black. But
So
I've dated.
What made you do that then, bub? Entertain me. Come on.
Date outside my race. So it doesn't matter that I've dated black women because I dated outside my race. I've now become suspect. Okay. I just guess I don't know. I wouldn't say love. It just worked out.
Because it's all linked, really, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
It's all linked, you know. Because let me say now, yeah, and all like we're not even going. You see, many of our black men, yeah, they're weak. Do you understand? And not much has changed since the plantation. So what it is for black men, yeah, is that it's validation. Do you understand me? That's what it's about. It's about validation.
I don't get. Could you explain that? I'm not quite. What do you mean,
So yeah, so when a black man has a white woman, he feels validated. He feels like he's someone. He's made it. He's got something. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens if you work with somebody? You work in, I don't know, an office, and you go out for a drink with socially, and then you meet one of the girls in the office, you end up dating her. She happens to be white. Is that an issue? Or are you saying black men should not date white girls? They should only date black guys? Is that what you're saying?
All right, hold on 1 second. I am going to answer just 1 sec.
Cool.
Talk still. Give me 2 minutes, yeah?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
if
I've never been married. The only time I ever contemplated marriage was actually twice. One with a Ghanaian girl and one with a Japanese girl. So
that went far.
Huh?
That went. I thought you were gonna say, but a Ghanaian and a white girl. Then you went to Japanese. I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not. It's a case of I don't know. Given my lifestyle and the events that's occurred to me in my life, there's very few people I think that I can actually. All right, you may date a girl or whatever, but spend a lifetime with somebody. That person has to be the right person. Otherwise, you're wasting each other's time. And the only two people that I've ever considered spending my lifetime with were those two.
Yeah. For me, I'm as you might know that man's still young and that, yeah. And in Ireland, yeah, there isn't many black women available today. And I've looked back on my limited dating experience, but yeah, I realized that even when I was younger, yeah, and man would always be like, yo, I want to go with a white girl because like all the guys in my schools always fantasized over.
Wow.
Oh, there. What happened there?
Oh, things probably cut off.
Eureka's talking too much smack there, I think.
A lot of people cut out though. Man, Eva cut out as well. A lot of people drop out.
Wow. Just checking that out now. Oh my gosh, yeah.
You see all that Illuminati chat?
Yeah.
Only the righteous survive.
Only the righteous survive. Man. Oh my days. These people going deep in this discussion about straying outside of your own race to date. There's a lot of deep stuff that's being said by certain people. I don't know, man.
Do you know what it is? You know what it is, witness. I tend to get a lot of heat.
Sorry, I didn't know what happened there, man. Someone
Oh, he's
just
back. Okay, welcome back. What were you saying,
So,
brother?
yeah, so during my lifetime, I've always got a lot of heat from family and black women, especially, saying to me, "Why do I date this person? Why do I date this person? Why do I date that person?" And it's I don't get it. I don't get that. I don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? It's like the people from, all right, my parents are from a place called Mauritius. Now, at that time, Mauritian women were somewhat, how would I say, not as advanced as I was, because they still had that same small island mentality. And I couldn't see something funny. What's funny? I don't get it. What's going on? Raz, unmute your mic and tell us what's funny.
Yo, my mic was muted, man. I'm not laughing, bro.
Oh,
What was that? Was someone blowing their nose or something? Because I heard it too. I heard that. I thought someone was just blowing their nose. I didn't know it was a
I
lot.
think it's Scatter. I think it's Scatter's minds.
Yeah,
He
it
was
was
the only
funny,
one
man.
on mute. On mute. I
Oh,
was on
okay.
mute.
That's just me moving around, bro.
Okay.
All right.
I digress. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so they still have that mentality whereby the woman should stay at home and cook, the man goes out to work and blah 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 blah. And that ain't about. I'm not about that. My lifestyle doesn't revolve like that. So there's certain cultural aspects about dating certain women that I'm not about. Times have changed because women have become more liberated and more, going to university and getting more education and being more independent. So, times change.
Interesting. I mean, I personally just always assume that when I do get married, it will be with a black woman and I'll have black kids. But then again, I don't really have a problem with other races. But I get the impression that the fact that I wouldn't have a problem dating outside of my race is considered a problem by many black people, especially black women. So then I think,
sorry, witness, I think we've heard the men speak about dating outside race. I'd love to give Nainifa an opportunity to speak on it.
Unfortunately, she got Oh, she's back. Oh, Nainifa's back. All right. So, Nainifa, can you hear us? Nainifa 9?
I think there's something wrong with the call, man. It keeps on removing people automatically. I don't know.
Yeah, she's disconnected again. Yeah.
It's that Illuminati talk Raz was coming with, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, that's you, man.
Actually, it was funny. It was Nainitha 9 was talking about something, but she wouldn't mention it. But I began to suspect she was going down that road. It was with Beyonce when we were talking about Beyonce and Beyonce's success. There was hints that the success had to do with more than just being a good singer and working hard. And I think that's where it all started.
Let's not bring it up again.
Okay, sorry. Let's move on from this. Sorry.
But you know what? Let me give an example. You know, like small island mentality. Raz.
Yo.
Do you know what a loup-garou is?
What?
A loup-garou.
Is that French?
It's Creole, but I thought you might know it. No.
Loup-garou.
Yeah.
Is it like somebody that goes outside or like a mixer, something?
No. So a loup-garou is like is the proverbial boogeyman. So it's a Creole word.
Oh yeah. Sorry, a loup-garou. Okay, yeah.
So it refers to a werewolf. So what we would call a werewolf, what we call a loup-garou. So what happens is in small island communities, you'll find that superstition, all of that kind of stuff is built into the culture. So, and that kind of comes from the African heritage. So you'll have things like, don't talk to that guy because he's a loup-garou. In a full moon, he turns crazy, he goes mad, or he's this or that. And people associate these type of mysticisms and superstitions with people that get too famous or too, too prosperous. So when someone's got a business and that person's doing really well, they'd be like, oh my God, yeah, you know his wife used to be a witch and she does black magic and blah 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 blah. You see, it's that kind of mentality in Small Island, and I think with the whole Beyonce being part of the Illuminati and Freemasons and all this kind of shit, I think there may be some sort of propaganda. You know what? These people are thick. Just tell them she's evil, she's a witch. That will demonize her within the African community or the black community. I think there's a little bit of that there.
That's exactly how I feel. Yeah. Oh man, I kind of feel like we're waiting for Nine Eva to come back, really, because I really did want to get her perspective. But Raz, you were saying something before you dropped out. So if you want to just
I said I understand why some black men that are in certain circles, like majority white area or majority elder ethnicity area, that they would have more in common with someone in that area that they would have in common with someone that grew up in Brixton or in prominent black areas. So to that point, I understand that sort of cultural brainwashing in the sense where they see themselves in other people that are more similar than them, not really thinking about other people in the broader sense that are in their community. So people that are maybe grew up in predominant white areas that are black or may go to private school which is dominated by whites are more inclined to maybe date in that demographic. So I understand that. I don't really knock them type of people. I just feel like they just grew up not knowing any better. But I feel like when they get to a certain age, I think they need to educate themselves on who they are as a person and not get lost in the sauce, as one may say.
Yeah, no, hey, you sound like you was giving yourself excuses growing up in Ireland.
Nah. Like my dad, my dad. Oh, like when I reached this specific age, my dad told me like I can.
Yo,
date,
Raz, just
I
to
can
remind
date.
you, Raz, just to
Yeah.
remind you, we're live, yeah.
I know. I'm not shameless, bro. Like, I'm not I don't want to be crude, but like, man, like when I was younger, yeah, man would like date white women, yeah, but but I knew never to bring a white woman home to get married to. Like, I known this thing. It's just that there wasn't any other ethnicity in my group, and man needed to literally bust a nut. But that was it.
Okay, I'll remind you again. You're live, yeah.
Wait, what? Oh shit! Yeah.
Okay. Right, man. Okay, let's get back to the politics. Right. What we were talking about. It's a shame.
Yo, you guys baiting me out though. Scatman, you trapped me nicely, bro. You knew exactly what you did, dickhead.
Man. What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought for a few seconds there. I'm gonna call it a night. I mean, I don't think there's much more we can talk about. I think I've learned a hell of a lot from you guys, a lot more than I expected to hear. I mean, now we've reduced to there are only 4 of us, but still the opinions from each and every single person is absolutely vital and important. And I really enjoyed hearing what you guys had to say. I don't think we really actually disagreed for the most part on the subject matter of the victim mentality. We didn't disagree on that. And I learned a lot about who we would consider sellouts, because I would rather use that word. I won't use the house nigger, all those other words. Sellout I can use, and I can understand where people are coming from when they mention certain celebrities and the behavioral patterns. But I'm also interested in what you said, Scattered Minds, that it could also be part of a campaign smear to make someone who is black and successful look bad within the black community by promoting certain things about them in the media relating to all this, hocus pocus Illuminati type stuff. So I never thought about it like that.
Sorry,
People, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, you're back, 9 More interesting. Sorry, Buddha, what were you saying?
99.
99, sorry.
90. So what I want to quickly say, and then I'm gonna let you what I find it very interesting listening to the brothers, I find it interesting kind of not even bizarre, not anymore in it, because I'm kind of used to it. You know what I'm saying to you, but you see, we've not learned many lessons, you know. Yeah, we've not learned many lessons. So coming back to what I kind of was saying before when you asked about the whole white and light and all that type of malarkey, yeah. Many, you see, I don't know what I don't want to use the word weak, but yeah, a lot of our men are suffering from weakness. Yeah, very, very weak. Yeah, and that's why the system is able to play us so easily. Yeah, and if you've seen what they done is they went on a direct assault on the black men. Yeah, now they've kind of fucked you a lot up certain ways. Now they've come and they're now coming for us using a similar tactic.
I'm slightly offended by what you're saying here. You know,
Oh, that's okay. Be offended. That's okay.
Right. So, okay, let me ask you a question. So, I'm mixed race. Who would you have me date?
You see, Buddha now. Yeah, I'm not being funny, but at this point, I don't know what to say to that, bab. Do you understand? I hear you, but you see, and this is where it gets political. Do you understand me? Because okay, you're mixed race. What side do what side do you err on?
All of them.
Okay, well, you see, then this my conversation is not for you.
Okay, right. You know what? See you guys there. Take it easy.
No, wait. Put down, relax. Wait, he's gone. Is he gone?
Yeah, he's gone. Yo, sorry guys. What channel is this on?
This is on a Witness at Speaker's Corner. Witness at Speaker's Corner.
Wow. Just being a fucking, you see.
Damn, you almost cleared the room, 90th and 99. What's going on? Yes.
How so?
I mean,
you see, and this is one of the problems that we have, you know, yeah? Because when we start to talk about ourselves directly, all type of people get offended, including ourselves. And that is one of, like, what did I say that's so wrong?
What
have I said?
What happened?
What happened?
What have I said? And this is the thing, yeah. We are not allowed to talk about us, yeah, in any capacity without upsetting people, yeah. And that's one of our weaknesses. You think other group this anyway, chap.
No, continue.
Say your piece. No, say your pieces.
You started now. You can't finish. You can't finish. You started. Please.
No,
continue.
But do you understand how? But you see what Buddha just even showed us there is the type of precarious situation, yeah, that we are in.
Yeah, I hear that. I would agree. I would actually agree.
Yeah, every other race, yeah, listen to me, yeah, they are unapologetically what they are, you know. Do you understand? And they don't give a fuck. Except us. Yeah, we have to apologize to the left, right, and center.
Huh?
Sorry?
I missed that part with Buddha. So what are you saying basically that black people are black and should date black? Is that, and then Buddha didn't like that? Or
no, Buddha, what happened was Buddha then mentioned that he is mixed race and he asked 90th and 99, what about me? Who should I date? And then 90th and 99 asked him.
He didn't say who should I date. No, that's not what he said. He said, so what about me?
Because he's mixed race, yeah.
Because he's mixed race.
Yeah.
And you asked him who does he connect with, and he says everyone, both. And then at
one point I said, then what I'm going to be saying is not for you then. Yeah, because as a black, you see, this is the thing. Why as a black woman do you want me to go and then fucking have to think about everybody else? No other race does that, brethren. Indian people don't think about nobody but themselves.
All right, cool.
Sorry?
Cool. Yeah, I agree.
Sorry?
I think I agree.
Yeah. Everyone thinks about themselves except us. And that's why we are in and will remain in this position. Listen, like I keep saying, you know, everything comes down to tribe, you know. You understand? When you take away all the bullshit, it's tribalism, you know. Oops, sorry, I don't know if that's some. Do you understand? So hold on a second. I don't know what's going on here. That's a bit scary. Hold on.
Yo,
Hold on. Now my computer's just come on. Yeah. Oh, shame. I don't even have to turn it down. Shame. I'm being trolled on my laptop. Hold on. Fuck you know. All right. I think that's it. Sorry about that, people. So yeah, man, this is what I'm saying, innit? Like, everyone else can be unapologetically who and what they are with no problem. As soon as we start talking about our shit, everyone's got a fucking problem, including some of our own self. Yeah. And this is one of our problems.
Right.
Because I can't believe when I hear certain people talk, I'm like, you wouldn't fucking believe that just not even 200 years ago, we still had slaves in our shit. I'm trying to say, yeah, Jewish people won't even buy a German car. That's how they're keeping their shit real. Yeah? And
What
we're
did you
out
say?
here in,
Which people won't buy a car?
Jewish people.
Oh, yeah, that's actually true.
yeah? Just to show you the people them that are on their ting. Do you understand me? And they know why they're on their ting. We, with this most recent history that we have, yeah? Very, very recent, you know. Yeah, that we were, as someone, I see some prisoners of war, you know. Yeah, so as not to say slaves. And look at us now in less than 100 years of freedom. Look at what we're doing. That's
Well,
why people are laughing at us, yeah. Don't get it twisted.
what we
Yeah.
doing?
We're going right back to where we come from, willy-nilly. No other nation would be doing what we're doing now. None.
In terms of dating white people.
And all of that stuff. And all it, none. They wouldn't be doing it. You see, if we was in a period,
what do you mean?
Sorry?
You say all of that. What do you mean? Like dating white people, wearing weaves. I mean, what is it? I'm not sure. Like,
all right. Well, let's just even stick with dating outside of your tribe.
pardon, sorry, you cough a little bit.
I said, let's even just start with dating outside your tribe.
Okay, staying outside your tribe. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the numbers that we are, so we know that it happens. All right, fair enough. But to the numbers that it happens with in our community, yeah, it's not normal. Considering our position not even a couple hundred years ago, it's not normal. Considering we are still suffering from thingy-bobs, or what's the word? Symptoms, or whatever the right word is. Yeah, from the thing, and look where we are now.
Post-traumatic stress.
How you mean? It's that's why we are where we are, and that's why we'll always remain where we are. Because you see one thing, yeah, I don't want to be disrespectful, but you got me now, innit? You see certain man them too fucking licky. You understand? Put anything in front of certain man and they're gone. Yeah, they're gone.
I've realized someone's also says that black people are suffering from Stockholm syndrome right about now.
Well, that's a pretty way of saying it. That's a nice way of saying it, because my way don't sound that pretty, but I would agree. Do you understand? But I wouldn't even say black people, you know. I'll say black men.
And
women. Well, the women are only now following just very, very recently. Yeah. And many of them are just doing it because no man no want them. Yeah. But white man's been wanting black women from morning. That's nothing new. But we're always about our man them. But nothing the man did. You understand?
Do you think it's a fetish thing amongst white men? Is they don't really love black women that they marry or date?
Yeah, let's not talk about white men anyway, man. That's not a point. I want to talk about us, man. Let's talk about the community. Yeah, but I agree with you. It probably is a first thing. But I was just gonna give out a naive part.
The thing is, though, boys, yeah, gentlemen, sorry, yeah, every race, yeah, especially let's talk about where we grew up in England. Every race has a fetish with white women because obviously that is what is advertised, yeah. So that's most people's diets in terms of external to their home. You understand? So every enough man grow up fancying a white woman or whatever, or you understand, a secret desire, whatever you want to call it, guilty pleasure, whatever you want to call it, yeah. But and many different races also carry out their fantasies with them. Do you understand? But with other races, that's where they leave it. Yeah, they go, they deal with it, they know what it's like, yeah, and then they come home and then they choose theirs. Ours take the fantasy, take it to the christening, take it to the
yeah, no, hey, I think we do it.
Yeah, and twos, you don't know the rest. You understand? That is a weakness, because we have certain, let's say, I don't want to get political, but you have certain communities where they want to keep their shit so real that they're marrying their cousin.
Yeah.
You get me? So I'm not advocating we marry our cousins to keep our shit real, but I'm just using that as an analogy to say how far from what we're, you understand? Because
I get what you're saying, sis. But I think we do have to look at this a little bit deeper when we're looking at it, because I think it's a lot more wider. I mean, I think there is definitely a massive issue with a lot of, like you're saying, the superiority complex, and like Braz was talking about, is the attainment complex. The idea of having a white girl means you made it. That's definitely a big part of why people validation, as you say, massively. Yeah. But I think on this panel, Witness, he said that he did outside his race, and I know Buddha's gone now, but he said he would do it. And I don't think neither of those two guys would be doing it for validation. I think they'd honestly just be doing it because they don't necessarily have a problem with it, because I think politically they probably don't think along the same tribal lines that you do. Do you know what I mean? So I think when it comes down to a matter of,
but is that even tribal though, Scattered, where you know stories, yeah, of your forefathers having to go through certain things within very, very, very recent history.
Yeah.
And what you know what it is, babe? That's why, yeah. That's why you see what's happening in Africa certain ways and certain other places. That's why it's happening again. Do you understand me? Because man, they ain't willing to do. They're not defending nothing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think they're not defending anything.
Yeah?
But I don't think
and that's why they're coming in. Remember, before they came in with shiny things and a mirror and whatever, and we're gone. And it's no different to now. It's no different. And until that's why I'm starting to feel like them stories of being cut. You get me? And sleep of Leviticus and all them things. I'm thinking maybe these things are real, because I can't understand how in 2018 I'm seeing certain things that I'm seeing when I know that my great-great-great-grand, boom, the ancestors must be spinning in their fucking graves. Yeah. They must be spinning in their graves when they're witnessing what they must be seeing on earth with some of our people right now. 100%. Spinning in their fucking graves. Probably thought what was the point of going through all of that for the little fucking idiot them in a couple little years of freedom for like, you understand? So jolting.
But do you think that the sole purpose reason has been just because black men haven't necessarily been marrying black women, and that black men are too easily swayed by, as you put it, white women or shiny things? Because like I say, and along with the original answer you gave about the question about tribalism, I agree with you about the recent history. But if you take that approach and you look at it and you do take that perspective, you can become tribal about a lot of things, and including down to the point of where you could be saying, I'm Jamaican, so I don't want to marry a Grenadian, or I don't want to marry a Trini, or I don't want to marry a Nigerian or so on. And then you could say, oh, those Africans sold us into slavery as well.
I know you're not comparing those to your former slave master. Please don't do that, man.
Okay, now, but I've moved on to people who like to look at Africans as people who sold them out and sold them to the white man and so on and so forth. So you have people who take that perspective as well. So when you have a political view about this, it's going to color how you're going to see dating and relationships. Do you know what I mean? So if you have one political view where the white man is the oppressor and he's taking you away, then yeah, you're never going to date white. But if your perspective is, yeah, white man took us away, but the black man sold us to the white man and all these other things, you might be, you know what, but I could forgive all of it. Or you might say that I'm not. It's not like my immediate. Do you know what I mean? There's many reasons why people come to these conclusions. I think you can't dismiss.
Nothing ain't changed since the plantation, man. Yeah.
But the thing is, you say you think But sis, I think you think the reason why we're stuck in this position is because we get caught up by shiny things. I think personally, if I would say the reason why I think black people are stuck in this position because we oversimplify the debate too often. We like to look at things as black and white, like cut off and cut dry. Do you know what I mean? Like there are pro-black people, like we've seen, like with Kwame Nkrumah and so on, who have married outside of their race and so on, and still done immense stuff for the community. I think when we start getting pinned down on these issues, we start losing focus on the bigger issues and the fact that there's many nuances in all of this sort of stuff. And people at the end of the day are human and they're going to do different things. And if we actually come to understand them on their personal perspective, for example, my brother Ulrich just said he prefers a black woman. He wants to marry a dark-skinned black woman. Now, if I was to meet Ulrich in 10 years' time, I haven't spoken to him and I find out that his woman's white, does that take any credit away from Ulrich at all?
Never gonna happen, mate.
But I'm just saying, but it probably wouldn't. It wouldn't discredit his character for me at all. It would just mean that his circumstance in his life, like his intention was there. He wanted to marry a black woman, but it just didn't. Life didn't turn out like that. Do you know what I mean? Like I think we do need to actually look into people's specific circumstances rather than painting the whole thing. Oh, these black men are the sellouts, and that's the reason. Because like I say, Kwame Nkrumah was one of the best men in African history and recent African history, up there in the top 100 or top 1,000 of the best Africans.
Oh, I hear you about Kwame Nkrumah, but that's just one successful man that had that story.
He had a little time of fighting.
Look.
Like black people done it.
If that were to continue, is that what's good for the race?
Not necessarily, but I don't think it's the worst thing for the race.
Okay, well, fair enough then, bro.
Yeah, I think staying outside the race is probably like I don't think it should be your first option, but like I say, I think the wider question we should be having is what has happened in the relationships between black men and black women. Is it simply that black men heads are too easily turned by white women, or is there issue of functionality and communication that's gone wrong, and are we not necessarily even communicating with each other as well as we should be, or what's actually gone wrong there?
You know what, yeah, even if all the above were true, yeah, and I'll take that, yeah, because obviously we know that those things are wrong. So hold on a minute, do you really not see it to be a strange situation that within a few generations of freedom, yeah, that many of them, do you not see that as strange?
What do you mean?
I mean, you called it someone called it Stockholm syndrome or something.
Yeah,
so many are with them after slavery and racism and stuff like that.
Yeah. Don't you find that strange?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's strange, especially when you look at the fact that the top or the richest black people and the successful examples that they show of black people usually always have white wives as well. I definitely do think it's strange, but I don't necessarily think it's that strange. I think it's like you guys have said, validation, attainment.
Do you know the percentage of because you see. Anyway, go on, Bab. Sorry, go on. Sorry,
like you're saying, but we know the reason. It's about validation. It's about attainment. It's about acquiring new status through getting this woman, basically. However, I think we need to.
No other race does that. Don't you see that as a problem?
Not necessarily. So you do get like the highest proportion of mixed marriages, actually surprisingly, is white and Asian in this country. So you are seeing a lot of Asians marrying outside their race and stuff like that. But I do get, hey, we do it a lot more, and there's a deeper issue with why we're doing it. Like I say, I think you said it, it's about attainment. It comes down to validation in a lot of these cases. But in other cases, it's not about that. Do you know what I mean? It comes down to many things, but I think the wider issue that we have to get down to is actually what's going on within our community. And I think the fact that we have a broken black community is much of the issue. And I think if we actually had a more functional black community and we had more functional examples of working black relationships and we pushed that and promoted that a lot more, then we come to answer. I think the more we focus on the mixed race relationships is the less we're focusing on promoting and building up pro-black relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Definitely. I appreciate that.
So I would say, what do you think has gone wrong between black men and black women? Do you think it's simply black men have turned their head away and black women's got tired of it? Or do you think, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I do. I do, you know. I don't even want to be too honest tonight because the man then will just not like me afterwards.
Go on, go ahead.
But I do, man. I do. You know what, yeah? One thing that Speaker's Corner I can definitely say shown me, yeah. Like in my phone's gonna die, so I'm gonna have to go on to another but one thing Speaker's Corner showed me, yeah, is how we were able to be enslaved in the first place. Do you understand? Like that's the first place that can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
right, no, because my phone's doing all type of mad things, sorry. But that was the first place that I've ever been, and I've been a few places, you understand? Where I actually was able to physically look and see how what happened to us was able to happen. Yeah. And I'll go deeper to say I can see how it could happen again. Can't man them, they're not focused. They're not focused on their castle. They're not focused on their shit. They're focused on everyone else's shit but their own. Whilst everyone else is focused on their shit. And there's so many different instances I can show you to back that, but I don't even want to personalize the thing. Do you understand me? And you have to appreciate that other people see this.
Yeah, yes. I hear you. Especially when
other people see it and they play on it constantly.
100.
Yeah?
100.
Constantly. And the ratings that my dad's generation and a couple under had, man, them ain't got them ratings again. If we was gonna be honest, yeah, even on road, I hear enough man talk about road and all this bullshit. Man, them ain't got no ratings on road. None. Yeah, no other communities gonna look at man them and be like, yeah, we rate them. They look at them like them are idiot. For varying reasons. And the first thing that they look at is how they treat their fucking women. Yeah? That's the first thing they need to look, because no matter how bad them other communities are, yeah, they hold their women in some kind of esteem. Yeah, even if it's bordering on misogyny in certain instances. Do you understand? Yeah. But they're not doing what man them are doing. So they're not getting no ratings.
100%.
This is what I'm saying. This is why we'll always be a soft target. Yeah, even now, you can go Africa, you can go West Indies, easy to sell out. You get me? Bung them a little. Standard procedure. A Caucasian person could leave here now and go to an African country and know, say, if I do this, this, and this, I'm going to get this, this, and that. And all of these this and that's are shortcuts.
Yo, sis, I hear you.
We're licky. Yeah? And until we get over that lickiness, nothing's going to change. Yeah? Until you put your queens first, it's a wrap. And now, like I said, they've come and they're coming for us now. This thing is deep. You don't take this thing here for a joke. Remember, every time, something like that happens, that's what's it called? A chain, a break in the chain. Look at every other community that's come here since we come. Remember, we first come here, Yeah? Look at every other community. Look at the most recent ones that have come. Somalian, Romanian, Bulgarian. You got fucking youths out there moving Bulgarian food. What type of shit is that?
Yes, I have to jump in now. Because I agree with everything I said. 100. 100. Especially in regard to the park and in regard to our community and how, like I say, we're not necessarily focused on what we should be focusing on too often and stuff like that. But like I say, I'm not sure if you see my videos, see my channel, and see me go down to the park. But I go down to the park and I say I'm there to talk about Pan-Africanism. I'm trying to represent Pan-Africanism and build up a black community.
Yep.
I think the issue is that a lot of the time the black community ain't interested in that. A lot of the time the black community are more interested in the hype and a lot of the other stuff that's going on than coming to, like, we're trying to build, me working with Raven, we're trying to build up our corner. We ain't really, to be fair, the interest, we've got a lot of people come up, a few people come up to us, but it's not that many. Do you know what I mean? We expect there to be a lot more people from the community coming up to us saying, let's get involved in our corner, let's like you're saying, other communities, when you go to Speaker's Corner, you see people come down with their wives, you see them coming down to give dawah, to recruit people to their goals, to their platforms, to what they believe is right for the future. And the question is, who's down at the park doing that for us? Are we recruiting people? I mean, you got gang, and yeah, they're doing their thing, and it's beautiful. I really respect that. But in terms of politically, and like all those things you're talking about, when you say the Somali community, they come here, they built themselves up. Where are we doing that to build ourselves up? And like I say, that's what I'm down at the park to do. I'm trying to build this Pan-African network and so on. But the question is, where's the support? And too often, people overlook the people who are doing positivity and doing good things because they are paying more attention to the negativity and the bad things. You know what I mean? So there are many people and there's many groups. You have Raven and under the park for time. He's got his whole platforms that I'm a part of as well on WhatsApp and stuff like that. The Mount Melanin groups and things like that. So there's many different people there trying to advance and push forward this black thing. But I think, like I say, black people don't have the discipline. We're too easily distracted by other things. We're not focused. And I don't think it's necessarily just in regard to our women and marrying our women. I just think black men and black women, we're not disciplined no more. We lack discipline. We just want to have that immediate gratification, that immediate win. And until we start thinking long-term, thinking about discipline, and actually looking at the people who are working in the community to build up and take positive steps and actually actively supporting them. And I think Speaker's Corner is a great place to do it. Do you know what I mean? But I think we need more people to come out and represent a specific agenda and a specific movement for that thing to kind of pop. Do you know what I mean? Right now, there's not enough people down there who want to talk about
because it needs to start in the home, Scatter. I understand what you're just saying, yeah. And I mean,
but it can't start in the homes unless there's people there to teach in the homes. You know what I mean? So you have to reach out to them people. It's like when the Muslims go to the corner, they're doing dawah. You know what I mean? You can't be a Muslim if no one told you about being a Muslim. So you can't become pro-black and join the thing if no one ain't reached out to you and explained to you why it's a good idea. And if we ain't out there doing that work, it's never going to start in no homes. Do you know what I mean? And we're always going to be in this position. So we got to take it as seriously as my Muslim brothers take dawah. We have to take this thing that seriously, sis.
But you see, but this is the point that I'm trying to make to you. I hear what you're saying, innit? Do you understand? And this is the whole point I'm trying to make, innit? We are only, you see, what it is, you know, many of us are too comfortable and we think we've made it. Yeah? Yeah? Because we've got a one car, we might have a one mortgage or rent or whatever. Yeah? We've got a microwave that goes ping. You understand me? We got the enemy sleeping, whatever, innit? Many of us think that we've made it.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. We have not yet begun to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. And the point is, going back to the whole Beyonce thing and all the rest of it, that is all part of the thing to keep us away from what you're trying to do. Do you understand me? Because at the end of the day, if there had been more pro-black or more Afrocentric vibrations in the community already, what you were trying to do wouldn't be such a hard thing. And that's why we're saying that things like Beyonce and fucking all that other you understand, is a detriment to us. And then worse than that is that we are not even in charge of it. So what's even a detriment to us? We're not even in charge of it.
But sis, I think that what's the biggest detriment is that we I just don't feel like Beyonce is the biggest detriment. The biggest detriment is us, like the fact that we're not doing nothing. You know what I mean? So even if Beyonce might be encouraging that and she might be promoting that, the reality is even the people who know. So I go to countless conscious events. I come to this thing, and it's all groups of, and all we do with this is have conversations like this where we complain about other things and other people. Whereas if we all came together and we all put a £5 together, all these conscious events, we could have bought out the whole long time ago. We could have bought out houses long time ago. We could have had a whole community. So the question is, are we going to keep saying no, we can't, and looking and pointing the things at everybody else? Or are we going to say, you know what? I can, and this Sunday I'm going to go down to Speaker's Corner. I'm going to rep with them, man. Next Sunday I'm going to go down with them, man, and and meet up and link up with our people and try and work this thing and actually join the people together. And actually, if people see more numbers down at the park or more numbers behind this black thing, it might pop off. But if we keep talking about the fact that it's not popping off, it's never going to pop off. Because, yeah, we know it's a hard thing, sis. I know it's a hard thing. But it's harder because I feel like people who are even who know about the black conscious thing, they've given up before they even tried to fight.
Wow. That was intense from the both of you. That was some serious knowledge there being dropped by the both of you.
Already.
Are you still coming down to Speaker's Corner to teach more about oh, I think 90th and 99. I think her phone's just gone.
I've actually died now. Oh man.
Yeah. Are you still going to be coming to? You still come to the park anyway to educate people on Pan-Africanism.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to have all different types of things. But just winter, it's been a bit. Well, winter's just started, but I've already been buckled a few times under the pressure. I've also had a couple of events I had to go to. But yeah, I'm gonna try and be on the park as much as I can throughout winter, and then summertime definitely again for sure.
Because Effie's usually there with the camera to capture the discussions.
Yeah.
How's your channel going with the Are you now able to start doing live streams on your channel?
Not yet, still. Not yet, still. Soon, hopefully.
Damn.
I know, man.
That's a pain. 3 months,
boy. 3 months.
Yeah.
Mad. Big ups to that of mine still.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Thank you guys for coming on the show. I'm gonna wrap it up. Very grateful to you guys turning up. What you've had to say was very insightful, very informative. Thanks for the history lesson. I'm gonna look at that picture again, Raz. That one on Lord Macaulay, and because it's very haunting what is being said in that picture. That scary stuff. But anyway, thanks very much, guys.
You should see what Abraham Lincoln said. Boy.
Well,
the so-called abolitionists.
Bro. Well, thanks, yeah. Thanks.
I wasn't going to go into it. I'm just saying that you should look it up.
Yeah, no.
Okay. But thanks, Witness, for having us. We really appreciate you, G.
That's all right.
Bless up.
Take care. Goodbye.
You too, bro. You too.